Chapter 2704 Words turned into spirits. Lu Ming finally understood. The reason why the Nether Dragon Beast King was so powerful and its energy seemed to be endless was entirely because of the word quant. Tai. It was also because of this quant. Tai that the Nether Dragon Beast King's neck, which was originally a vital point, became a non-vital point. It could even explode with astonishing power. I can take down this quant. Tai word. At this moment, Lu Ming suddenly had this thought in his mind. There was no reason for this. However, this thought was very strong. Lu Ming had a strong feeling that as long as he got close to it, he could borrow the aura of the battle word to remove the quant. Tai word. Let's take a gamble. Lu Ming made a decision. Miss Linglong, Brother Wu, can you help me hold back the Nether Dragon Beast King? I have a way to break its defense. Lu Ming sent a voice transmission to Yu Linglong and Wu Zifeng. You have a way? Yu Linglong and Wu Zifeng were both a little surprised. Not bad. Lu Ming nodded. Alright, then we'll help you hold it back. Well, give it a shot. Wu Zifeng was very decisive and directly nodded. Attack. Yu Linglong charged directly at the Nether Dragon Beast King. Her figure flashed extremely fast, and the sky was filled with her figure. She successfully dodged the Nether Dragon Beast King's attack. Wu Zifeng also used his body technique and rushed over. Yu Linglong and Wu Zifeng's attacks had successfully attracted the Nether Dragon Beast King's attention. It attacked Yu Linglong and Wu Zifeng with even more attacks. Lu Ming took the opportunity to charge at the Nether Dragon Beast King. Heart of the Bright Moon. Yu Linglong shouted as she approached the Nether Dragon Beast King. She was going all out and had used a terrifying secret technique. With her cultivation base, she couldn't use this secret skill. After using it, she would be injured. But at this moment, he could only take a gamble. A full moon suddenly appeared and pressed down on the Nether Dragon Beast King. The ninefold divine mountain. Wu Zifeng also used a secret technique. And NBSP his body seemed to become as heavy as a mountain. Divine power gushed out, transforming into a Siv mountain that pressed down on God King Dark Dragon. The two of them used their secret techniques at the same time, causing the body of the Nether Dragon Beast King to stiffen and stop in midair. Lu Ming, attack! Yu Linglong shouted. The Nether Dragon Beast King's body continued to burst with terrifying energy, which rushed in all directions, trying to break Yu Linglong and Wu Zifeng's secret skill. Their secret skills started to shake violently. With their cultivation, they couldn't hold on for long. Buzz! At this moment, Lu Ming rushed to the Nether Dragon Beast King's side. However, Lu Ming put away his sword and reached out with one hand to grab the Nether Dragon Beast King's neck. Yu Linglong and Wu Zifeng were extremely surprised. Previously, Lu Ming's full-force attack with his combat sword could not even break through the Nether Dragon Beast King's defense. Now, he had to grab it with his bare hands. How was this possible? Although Yu Linglong and Wu Zifeng were very puzzled, they could only choose to believe Lu Ming at this moment. The word battle is all up to you. Lu Ming thought to himself. As Lu Ming's claw approached, the word battle in his sea of consciousness emitted a dazzling glow and a stream of energy surged into Lu Ming's palm. Pfft! Lu Ming's palm pierced the neck of the Nether Dragon Beast King. It was a success. Lu Ming was overjoyed. Roar! At that moment, the Nether Dragon Beast King let out an earth-shaking roar. It struggled madly, and then a terrifying energy burst out from its body. This energy was like a shock wave that could destroy everything. Bang! Bang! Yu Linglong and Wu Zifeng's secret skill collapsed directly. Their bodies trembled violently as they were hit by this terrifying force. Their bodies flew out like cannon. LLS and fell to the ground. They slid on the ground for a long distance, coughing blood and cracks appeared on their bodies. The two of them were severely injured at the same time, and their auras were weak. Grab it. At the moment when the Nether Dragon Beast King released the shock wave, Lu Ming roared and made a desperate grab. He successfully grabbed the measure word on the Nether Dragon Beast King's neck. Then, Lu Ming was also hit by the shock wave and his body was thrown backward. Even though Lu Ming had activated the 9-stage Crimson Gold armor, the Crimson Gold armor shattered instantly. Lu Ming's body slammed heavily against the wall of the canyon and he was severely injured. Roar! 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 The Nether Dragon Beast King stood in the air and roared continuously. Its aura was like that of a madman. Yu Linglong and Wu Zifeng's faces turned pale. At this moment, they no longer had the power to fight back. If the Nether Dragon Beast King continued to attack, they would most likely die here. Fortunately, after a few roars, the Spirit Dragon Beast King's aura rapidly weakened. Then, its huge body fell to the ground and shattered a huge rock with a boom. He was dead. The Nether Dragon Beast King was dead, without a trace of its aura. Yu Linglong and Wu Zifeng often let out a breath. They had succeeded. They understood that they had succeeded. He had finally killed the Nether Dragon Beast King. Linglong, are you all right? Wu Zifeng staggered to Yu Linglong's side and asked with concern. I'm fine. Let's hurry up and treat our injuries. Yu Linglong said. She took out a healing pill and swallowed it to start healing. The Nether Dragon Beast, W.A. and Ji Li Su, was dead, but this place was not safe. At this moment, they were all seriously injured. If other people, Nether Dragon Beasts, or the Dragon Bone Flower came, they would all be in danger. At this moment, Lu Ming had already forgotten to recuperate. He was looking into his sea of consciousness. After Lu Ming grabbed the quant Tai word, it fused into his palm and ran to the side of the battle word. It flashed and emitted a dazzling radiance. The aura is the same. It's almost the same as the aura of the battle character. They are definitely of the same origin. Lu Ming had many thoughts in his mind. Brat, why are you sizing me up so carefully? What are you trying to do? Suddenly, a voice rang in Lu Ming's mind. Who is it? Who's talking? Lu Ming was shocked. He quickly looked around but did not see anyone. If I'm the one talking, then who else is? Haven't you been sizing me up? The figure rang out again. This time, Lu Ming finally realized where the sound came from. It was from the word, quant. Tai. Oh my God, my words have turned into spirits. Lu Ming shouted loudly, causing Yu Linglong and Wu Zifeng to cast sidelong glances at him, feeling puzzled. One word, and it could actually speak. At this moment, Lu Ming was in a mess. What do you mean? I'm one of the original ancient characters, so I'm naturally spiritual. It's normal for me to be able to speak. The voice rang out again. Lu Ming was 100% sure that it was the word quant. Tai. It really is an ancient word of essence. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. He had heard Baya mention the word battle before. It was one of the ancient words of the origin. The word measure in front of him was also one of the ancient origin words. Lu Ming's heart was thumping. He had a deep understanding of the profoundness of the battle character. It was simply endless. Chapter 2705 Heaven-defying, Quant. Tai word comprehending the battle symbol art would allow his attacks to be strengthened and his battle awareness to become stronger. No matter what kind of godly skill it was, under the enhancement of the battle symbol art, its power would increase by a level. In addition, as he continued to comprehend the battle formula, he could trigger double, triple, or even 4, 5, or even more times of combat power. It was infinitely mysterious and unfathomable. As for the word measure, it was also one of the ancient words of origin. What kind of mystery could it have? Lu Ming was filled with antic Asian. Brat, you're lucky. I've stayed on that nether dragon for countless years. That beast doesn't have the slightest intelligence, how can it be worthy of me? There's no future at all. I just happened to run into you guys and saw that you were controlling Zhan, so I left the nether dragon and ran to you. Otherwise, how could you have killed the nether dragon so easily? Liang continued. Lu Ming rejoiced inwardly. It turned out that Liang did not think highly of the nether dragon beast king. Furthermore, because Lu Ming had mastered the battle formula, the Liang formula had voluntarily left the nether dragon beast king. Otherwise, they would be in real danger. Oh right, since you have a spirit and can communicate, why can't the battle formula communicate? Lu Ming asked curiously. Who says he doesn't know how to communicate? He's just trying to be coy, and he's pretending to be profound. The quant Tai formula said in disdain. You talk too much nonsense. Suddenly, a deep male voice sounded. It was clearly from the battle symbol art. Lu Ming was flabbergasted. The battle symbol art really had spirituality and could speak. However, Lu Ming had obtained the battle symbol art for so many years, but he had never heard it speak. In the past, he had thought that the battle character formula was only an ancient character and would not have any spirituality. Now, he realized that he was completely wrong. Hey, what did you just say? You dare to say that I'm talking nonsense? I dare you to say that again. The Liang character roared in anger, its voice sharp. Fortunately, these voices only rang in Lu Ming's mind. People outside could not hear them. Nonsense. The deep voice of the battle symbol art sounded again. You. I'm too lazy to bother with you. The quant Tai formula seemed to be quite angry. The words were shaking, which was very human-like. Lu Ming found it rather interesting. By the way, the battle formula can increase one's combat power. What's the mystery of your quant Tai formula? Lu Ming finally could not help but ask what he was thinking. I've been very useful. Kid, let me tell you. Each ancient word of origin has its own profoundness. Since Old General is using the word measure, it's naturally related to energy, the quant Tai formula said. Is it related to energy? Lu Ming was surprised. That's right. That nether dragon was attacking us non-stop. Did you think that its energy seemed to be endless? The quant Tai formula said. That's right. Is it because of you? Lu Ming's eyes lit up and he asked. Of course it's because of me. My first function is that you can store your cultivation energy in my body. When you need it, you can directly borrow this power. I'll store as much as you have. The quant Tai formula said. You can actually do this? Lu Ming's eyes immediately glowed and his heart was pounding. He now had a weakness. His cultivation was too weak, and his divine power was not strong enough. When he used divine skills, he had to calculate and not use them recklessly. Otherwise, his divine power would be easily exhausted. But with the measure formula, as long as he stored more Shen power in the measure formula, he would not have to worry about running out of Shen power in the battle. In that case, his strength would increase by another level, because he could use big moves at any time. He finally knew why the Nether Dragon Beast King's energy light pillar could shoot out non-stop. It was because it had stored a large amount of energy. Lu Ming's eyes were burning with Shaun. Brat, do you think that this is all of my profoundness? You're gravely mistaken. The slightly proud voice of the quant. Tai formula sounded again. What other mysteries do you have? Lu Ming's heart was beating wildly. I'm telling you, I can absorb many different kinds of energy. All kinds of energy, when absorbed into my body, can be transformed into your Shen power, and can directly improve your cultivation. The quant. Tai formula said again. What? This time, Lu Ming was so shocked that he almost screamed. The quant. Tai formula could actually absorb different types of energy and then turn them into the Shen power he needed, directly increasing his cultivation. This function was simply heaven-defying. How is it? Aren't my functions heaven-defying? Isn't your battle word a lot stronger? The Liang character chuckled, feeling extremely proud. This, Lu Ming did not know how to answer. Although the quant. Tai formula was heaven-defying, the battle formula could continuously multiply one's combat power when cultivated to a profound level. It was also heaven-defying. It was not easy to compare the two as they each had their own strengths. Kid, you're lucky. I'll stay here with you for the time being. If you follow me, I'll guarantee you a good life and become an expert who can dominate the universe. The Liang character muttered with a chuckle. You seem to have followed many people in the past, but they are all dead. So, it's better to be low-key. At this moment, the deep voice of the battle symbol art sounded. Hey, you're deliberately making things difficult for me, right? Are you not convinced? Come, if you're not convinced, let's have a fight. The Liang character formula shouted. Lu Ming had a headache. The quant. Tai formula was indeed heaven-defying. However, the only disadvantage was that it spoke too much. It seemed that it would be difficult to be at peace in the future. Not good. At this moment, Lu Ming suddenly felt a sense of danger. He felt a powerful energy in the sky crashing down on him. Without thinking, Lu Ming mustered all his remaining strength and jumped to the side. Boom! A burst of fist force hit the spot where Lu Ming was just a moment ago, blasting a huge pit in the ground. Your spiritual sense is sharp. You can still avoid my move even with an injured body. A voice filled with killing intent came from the sky. Mad Dao. Lu Ming muttered, his face gloomy. The one who sneaked an attack on him was the little tyrant, Quang Dao, who was ranked 5th on the virtual god ranking list. Lu Ming, I'm here today to take your life. Quang Dao shouted. His eyes swept across the scene. When he saw the corpses of the nether dragon beast and the dragon bone flower on the ground, his eyes became extremely fiery. Lu Ming and the rest had actually killed so many nether dragon beasts and dragon bone flowers. He was shocked. At the same time, he was overjoyed. He knew that he had made the right decision to come. Although Lu Ming and the rest had killed a large number of nether dragon beasts and dragon bone flowers, they were severely injured. You're a defeated opponent, yet you still dare to appear in front of me. You can stay here forever. Lu Ming said coldly. Ha, don't try to scare me. You're strong enough to kill so many nether dragons, but you're all heavily injured now. You can't even use 10% of your strength, and you still want to kill me? Quang Dao laughed and was extremely arrogant. Chapter 2706 Direct Breakthrough. Quang Dao laughed, his eyes were cold and filled with cruelty. Boom! Then, a powerful and shocking aura burst out from Quang Dao's body. True God. The aura of the True God realm burst out from Quang Dao's body. Apparently, he wasn't an ethereal God realm expert. He had already broken through to the True God realm. This was normal as some of the people who were ranked higher on the virtual God ranking list had already reached the limit of virtual God level and could have broken through to True God level a long time ago. However, for the sake of the Dark Dragon's secret realm that only opened once every 100,000 years, they had all suppressed their cultivation. Once they entered the Dark Dragon's secret realm, these people would all be able to break through. Kuang Dao was such a person. This is terrible. Yu Linglong and Wu Zifeng's faces also changed greatly. Maniac was a top genius. After breaking through to the true God realm, his battle strength would be even more shocking. Ha ha ha, Lu Ming, are you feeling despair now? The three of you will be the ones to die today. Kuang Dao laughed and his violent aura pressed toward Lu Ming. He wanted to see Lu Ming's expression of despair and even see Lu Ming begging for mercy. Unfortunately, he was destined to be disappointed. Lu Ming merely frowned slightly. At this moment, Lu Ming was rapidly thinking of countermeasures. You're pretending to be calm. I want you to kneel in front of me. Lu Ming's expression made Kuang Dao very unhappy. He took a step forward and the void trembled. Then, he threw a punch. A fist force as huge as a mountain came crashing down on Lu Ming. Whoosh! Lu Ming took out a long spear, which was a level 1 middle-grade divine artifact, and thrust it forward. Boom! The long spear struck the fist force and a loud boom erupted. Then, the spear ray collapsed and Lu Ming was sent flying by the powerful force, sliding thousands of meters away. Humph, now you still want to resist me, you don't know what's good for you. Kuang Dao coldly snorted. Now that he had broken through to the true God level, his confidence had increased greatly. Even if Lu Ming was not injured, he was confident that he could suppress Lu Ming, let alone Lu Ming who was seriously injured. Back then, he had been injured by Lu Ming and had to escape, leaving Lan Shang and Huang Chengan behind. This was a great humiliation to him. Back then, he had been injured by Lu Ming and had to escape, leaving Lan Shang and Huang Chengan behind. This was a great humiliation to him. Today, he would make Lu Ming pay 10 times the price. It, my physical body is too injured. I can't even activate the double combat power, let alone the triple combat power. Lu Ming steadied his body. Many thoughts ran through his mind as he thought of countermeasures. Previously, in order to deal with the Nether Dragon Beast King, Lu Ming had been hit by its energy. His physical body had been severely injured and he could not even withstand the double combat strength. This was because triggering a double or even triple combat power required a very high physical body. If one's physical body was not strong enough, they would not be able to withstand it and would be torn apart by the powerful force. Now that Lu Ming's physical body was injured, he could not hold on either. Lu Ming, Yu Linglong and Wu Zifeng were both very anxious. Unfortunately, their injuries were more serious and they could not help at all. Kid, don't panic. There's still some energy in my body. I'll transfer it into your body now. Not only will it heal your injuries quickly, but it'll also help you break through in a short time. At this moment, the voice of the Quant Tai formula sounded. Really? Lu Ming was overjoyed. Of course it's true. I find you pleasing to the eye, but am determined to cultivate you into a strong expert. How can I let you fall just like that? Kid, pay attention. As soon as the measure formula was spoken, Lu Ming felt a surge of energy emerging from the measure formula. This energy was extremely pure, as if it had no impurities and could be easily refined. Refine, Lu Ming circulated the heaven and earth thousand Tao scripture at full force to refine this energy. In an instant, large ses of energy were refined and seeped into the depths of Lu Ming's body. Lu Ming's injuries were recovering at an alarming rate. In his body, the 4 divine flames, which had been somewhat exhausted, were also burning fiercely and growing stronger. Lu Ming's aura suddenly became stronger. What? Kuang Dao also felt it and his eyes focused. This kid is evil, let's cripple him first. Kuang Dao didn't waste any more time and immediately attacked. His fist force was like a mountain as it rumbled towards Lu Ming. Buzz! The long spear in Lu Ming's hands trembled continuously. At this moment, Lu Ming had activated the double combat power. A ray of spear light shot up and collided with the fist force of the Mad Path. This time, Lu Ming blocked Quang Dao's fist force. I blocked it. Yu Linglong and Wu Zifeng's eyes lit up. Quang Dao, even if you've broken through, your combat strength is only a so-so. Lu Ming's eyes were like stars. His aura became higher and higher, and soon, it reached its peak. This kid. Die. Quang Dao was shocked and then furious. His Shen power boiled and he used a Shen technique. Tyrannical Divine Fist. Quang Dao punched out with both of his fists continuously. The fist force was like a falling comet. It was much more terrifying than when he was at the virtual god realm. However, Lu Ming's current combat strength was much stronger than before. The 3 apocalyptic strikes had already broken through to the second stage. Whoosh! Lu Ming cast the first move of the 3 apocalyptic strikes, Air Blast. The spear's radiance burst forth and shot up against the sky, continuously bombarding Quang Dao's fist force. However, the fist force was destroyed by Lu Ming. Lu Ming's figure rapidly approached Quang Dao. Suddenly, Lu Ming's spear momentum changed and became more powerful. The battle formula tripled his combat power, activated. Boom! Lu Ming's spear swept out. The spear's gleam was as huge as a mountain, bringing with it a shocking power. This was Lu Ming's current peak combat strength. This level of combat strength made Quang Dao's pupils contract. Quang Dao didn't hesitate to use the secret skill to increase his combat strength. His combat strength instantly doubled. Boom! 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 The two of them raised their combat strength to the extreme and continued to exchange blows in the air. In the blink of an eye, the two of them had exchanged dozens of moves. To be honest, Mad Dao was very powerful. He was already 5th on the virtual god ranking list. Now that he had broken through to the first stage of True God Realm, his combat strength had increased by a huge amount. He was definitely not comparable to an ordinary first stage True God. One should know that when Quang Dao was at the 9th stage of the ethereal god realm, he could already defeat a first stage True God. Now that he had broken through to the True God realm, he could even kill a second stage True God, let alone a first stage True God. Defeating and killing were two different concepts. Therefore, after the battle, Lu Ming was still at a disadvantage and was being suppressed. Hurry, 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 Yu Linglong and Wu Zifeng were also extremely anxious. They were trying their best to refine the divine healing pill, trying to recover some strength as soon as possible. As long as the two of them recovered some of their strength, they would not have to fear Quang Dao. Lu Ming, go to Hell, go to Hell. Quang Dao roared. At this moment, he was extremely shocked. Lu Ming's abilities were much stronger than the last time they had fought. He was only at 5th level Void God Realm and he was so powerful. It was simply unheard of. He had thought that he would be able to suppress Lu Ming easily after he had broken through to True God level, but the truth was not so. Of course, he did not know that Lu Ming did not have the time to double his combat power when they fought the last time. Moreover, Lu Ming was only at the first stage of the 3 apocalyptic strikes. Now that he was going all out, his combat power was far from what it was before. Chapter 2707 7th Level Void God Realm. Lu Ming and the Mad Priest exchanged dozens of moves in a row. Lu Ming retreated hundreds of miles. However, at this moment, the energy in Lu Ming's body surged and surged continuously. The energy that gushed out from the light symbol art was too strong and extremely pure. It could be absorbed and refined quickly. The divine energy in Lu Ming's body grew stronger and stronger. The 4 divine flames in his dantian grew brighter and brighter. In just a short while, Lu Ming's cultivation had reached its peak. The peak of the 5th level Void God realm. Breakthrough. Lu Ming growled and circulated the universe 1000 Dao arts to break through to the 6th level of the Void God realm. Boom! There was a loud explosion in Lu Ming's body. Then, Lu Ming's aura suddenly soared, breaking through the peak and reaching another peak. 6th level Void God realm. Lu Ming's cultivation level had successfully reached 6th level Void God realm. His divine power had increased by a large margin, and his combat strength had also increased by a large margin. Wang! The long spear trembled and swept out. The spear light expanded and destroyed the 9 fist forces of Kuang Dao. Kuang Dao's expression changed. He threw a punch with all his might and it collided with Lu Ming's long spear. Thump! With fled explosion, the sky trembled violently. Then, Kuang Dao's body also trembled violently as he was sent flying by a terrifying force, retreating dozens of miles. Your cultivation base. How is that possible? Kuang Dao roared in disbelief. Lu Ming had clearly been severely injured earlier. He would not have sensed wrongly. However, all of a sudden, Lu Ming's injuries were completely healed. Moreover, the combat strength that erupted from him was much stronger than the last time they had fought. He was already in disbelief. However, Lu Ming's cultivation had actually broken through during the battle. This was simply a miracle. He must have used some kind of terrifying secret technique. It's the final radiance of the setting sun. He definitely won't be able to last long. Kill, kill! Kuang Dao roared in his heart. His eyes were extremely ferocious as he charged at Lu Ming again, using his trump card. You're the one who's going to die today. Lu Ming said coldly. He had just broken through and there seemed to be an endless amount of energy in his body. The most shocking thing was that his cultivation level had not stopped increasing. It was still rising and he was charging towards 7th tier Void God realm. The energy that emerged from the Quant Tai formula was too strong. Until now, it was still far from being refined. Whoosh! Lu Ming cast the first move of the 3 apocalyptic strikes, Air Blast. A bright spear light pierced through the air and headed towards Kuang Dao. Boom! The 2 of them were like 2 meteors, crashing into each other. Then, Kuang Dao was sent flying again. His body kept shaking, and a wound appeared on his body, blood flowing out. After Lu Ming broke through to 6th level Void God level, his combat strength was completely above that of the Mad Dao. After Lu Ming repelled Kuang Dao, he did not give the other party any chance to catch his breath. He continued to attack the other party. The spear's radiance swept across and enveloped Kuang Dao. Boom! 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 The 2 of them collided continuously and exchanged dozens of moves in an instant. Kuang Dao was completely outmatched and retreated. D-A-M-N it, D-A-M-N it, Kuang Dao roared in his heart. He was extremely unwilling. He had come to kill Lu Ming. He did not expect that in the end, he would still be suppressed by Lu Ming. He was so aggrieved that he wanted to vomit blood. He began to think of retreating. Lu Ming, you've killed so many of our men. You're dead for sure. Just you wait. I'll settle this score with you. After saying that, Kuang Dao began to attack crazily, wanting to escape. You won't be able to leave today. Lu Ming said coldly. He thrust his spear at Kuang Dao continuously. But Kuang Dao started to fight with all his might. He even burned his Shen power to charge forward. He was about to be pushed out. Lu Ming, just you wait. It won't be long before I make you die without a burial ground. Kuang Dao roared. However, at this moment, the aura on Lu Ming's body suddenly rose sharply. The terrifying aura was like 10,000 waves that pressed down on Kwang Dao. Kwang Dao's pupils dilated and he shouted hysterically, "7th level Void God Realm? Impossible. This is impossible. Impossible." He was scared silly. Lu Ming had just broken through to the 6th level of the Void God Realm, but now, he was about to break through to the 7th level of the Void God Realm. The word terrifying could no longer be used to describe this. It was understandable that he had broken through to the 6th level of the Void God Realm previously. Lu Ming's cultivation base might have reached the peak of the 5th level Void God Realm a long time ago. It was not impossible for him to break through after accumulating a lot of experience. However, he had just broken through to the 6th level of the Void God Realm not long ago. Now, he had broken through to the 7th level. What was going on? This, in the distance, Yu Linglong and Wu Zifeng were also looking at each other with a dumbfounded expression. Shouldn't one's cultivation progress be done step by step? How could one break through continuously like this? Boom! At this moment, Lu Ming's cultivation level had reached 7th tier Void God Realm, and his combat strength had reached the peak. He had completely crushed Kwang Dao. Boom! The long spear swept out, breaking through all of Kwang Dao's attacks and defenses. It whipped his body, causing him to scream in pain. Half of his body was smashed, and his body was sent flying like a cannonball. He spat out a large amount of blood, and was almost split into two. His chi was dispirited, and he had been seriously injured. Kill! Lu Ming charged at Kwang Dao directly. He became one with the spear and turned into a dazzling spear ray, piercing toward Kwang Dao's glabella. No, Kwang Dao was scared out of his wits and retreated frantically, trying to dodge. However, now that Lu Ming's cultivation had reached 7th tier Void God level and he was severely injured, how could he possibly dodge? Pfft! The spear radiance pierced through Kwang Dao's forehead and destroyed his soul. Kwang Dao, who was ranked 5th on the virtual god ranking list, had fallen. After killing Kwang Dao, Lu Ming put away Kwang Dao's storage ring and his spear. Then, he sat cross-legged and circulated his cultivation to stabilize his realm. He had broken through 2 levels of cultivation at once. This speed was too shocking. He needed to stabilize it. 2 hours later, Yu Linglong and Wu Zifeng's injuries were more or less stabilized. They came to Lu Ming's side to protect him. 3 days had passed before Lu Ming ended his cultivation. His cultivation had completely stabilized at the 7th level of the Void God Realm. This formula is really mysterious and unpredictable. Lu Ming sighed. A wave of energy gushed out from the formula, which actually made his cultivation break through 2 levels. If this news were to spread, it would probably set off a monstrous wave. Kid, now you know how powerful I am. The proud voice of the Quant formula sounded. It's indeed powerful. I wonder when you'll be able to give me another wave of energy? Lu Ming said with a face full of smiles. Of course, he communicated with his mind so that Yu Linglong and Wu Zifeng could not hear him. Pfft, you wish. I need to absorb a large amount of energy and refine it before I can pass it to you. The energy from before has been used up. In the future, if you find a treasure with a large amount of energy for me to devour, then I will have energy for you. Do you understand? The unhappy voice of the Quant formula sounded. Lu Ming nodded with a bitter smile. So that was the case. However, this was normal. If he could transfer energy to him infinitely, his cultivation would continue to soar and he would reach true God or divine realm. Chapter 2708 The Rainbow Divine Stone. He shook his head and got rid of this unrealistic idea. Cultivation indeed needed to be done step by step. This time, he had broken through 2 levels at once. Even if the Quant Tai formula still had energy, he could not continue to improve and needed time to stabilize it. However, since the quant Tai formula had such a heaven-defying effect, it should not be wasted. How should he find a treasure that contained powerful energy for the quant Tai formula to absorb? Lu Ming started to think. Brat, even if I don't have a treasure that contains powerful energy, I can still absorb the energy from the outside world at all times and slowly store it. It's just that the speed is much slower. The quant Tai formula said again. It can be done like this? Lu Ming was elated. He sensed carefully and realized that the energy between heaven and earth was slowly gathering towards him and surging into the measure formula. Although it was slow, it was still very impressive after mulating for a long time. Kid, if you want to mulate energy as soon as possible, I can guide you to a place in this secret realm. There is a treasure there. If I absorb and refine it, I guarantee that it will improve your cultivation by a large margin. The quant Tai formula continued. There's such a treasure? Where is he? Lu Ming asked hurriedly, his heart burning with excitement. He had already tasted the sweetness just now and was looking forward to it. That place is called the Night Dragon Cave. There is a type of night dragon blood jade inside that contains terrifying energy. As long as you get it for me to refine, it'll transfer the energy to you and your cultivation will soar. The elder said. The quant Tai formula said. Alright, I'll go. I'll definitely go. Lu Ming made a decision. Who? After communicating with the quant Tai formula, Lu Ming heaved a long sigh and ended his cultivation. Lu Ming, you're actually able to break through your cultivation level continuously. You're really abnormal. When Yu Linglong saw that Lu Ming had ended his cultivation, she immediately cried out in an exaggerated manner. I was lucky. I had a fortuitous encounter in the past and mulat a wave of energy. Just now, at the critical moment, I also risked my life to burst it out. I didn't expect that I would be right and my cultivation base would improve. Lu Ming smiled. Although Lu Ming had explained it this way, Yu Linglong and Wu Zifeng were still very surprised. By the way, I know of a place in the Dark Dragon's secret realm called the Night Dragon Cave. There might be some treasures in there. Should we go there and take a look? Lu Ming changed his tone. Yes, of course we're going. Yu Linglong said. She was really curious, and once she heard that there was a treasure, there was no reason for her not to go. Of course, there was one more thing they had to do before they left, and that was the Nether Dragon's beast core. The three of them worked together to collect the Nether Dragon's beast core and left. However, Yu Linglong and Wu Zifeng's injuries had not fully recovered, and they had not recovered to their peak. Immediately, the three of them found a hidden place. Yu Linglong and Wu Zifeng focused on healing their injuries. After a few days, their injuries were fully recovered, and their cultivation and combat strength had reached their peak. At this moment, there were only 6 days left before the 3-month deadline. Under the guidance of the measure formula, Lu Ming headed toward Night Dragon Cave. Night Dragon Cave was in the depths of the Dark Dragon's secret realm. As the three of them advanced, there were still dark dragon beasts and dragon bone flowers charging at them continuously. They were all attracted by the dark dragon blood curse in Lu Ming's body. Of course, with Lu Ming, Yu Linglong, and Wu Zifeng's current combat strength, they could easily kill the nether dragon beasts and the dragon bone flower. Just like that, they used 3 days to reach the vicinity of Night Dragon's cave, which was pointed out by the quant Tai formula. Along the way, they had also gained a lot. They had killed a large number of nether dragon beasts and dragon bone flowers and obtained a large number of beast cores and dragon bones. The three of them had divided them equally. The beast cores and dragon bones in Lu Ming's hands could be exchanged for 50,000 points. He had achieved his initial goal in this trip. 50,000 points were enough to exchange for the first stage of a saint-grade divine skill. This is Night Dragon Cave? Lu Ming, could you be mistaken? Looking at the gurgling lake water in front of her, Yu Linglong was a little stunned. At this moment, in front of them was a boundless lake. Where was the cave? There's a formation here that affects our senses. Don't worry, we'll just move forward. Lu Ming said. Of course, the quant. Tai formula had told him this. The three of them stepped forward. After walking for a while, they suddenly felt a barrier in front of them, like a layer of bubble. Don't use your divine power to block it. The stronger the divine power, the stronger the barrier. We can't get in. We can get in without using divine power. Lu Ming reminded him again. Yu Linglong and Wu Zifeng nodded. They did not use their divine power to resist and stepped out directly. With a pop, the three of them seemed to have said through a layer of bubbles. The next moment, they arrived at a pitch-black sage. This. The three of them were stunned. There was really a big formation here. The ones before were all illusions. Lu Ming could not help but sigh at the wonder of the big array. The more divine power was used, the stronger the barrier would be. When ordinary people encountered such barriers, they would subconsciously use divine power. That way, they would not be able to pass through at all. Only by not using divine power could they pass through the great array. Yu Linglong and Wu Zifeng looked at Lu Ming curiously. In their hearts, Lu Ming was becoming more and more unfathomable. Is Lu Ming really an outer sect disciple who has just joined the sect? Yu Linglong blinked her big eyes and took a few more glances at Lu Ming. Of course, she was not interested in Lu Ming. She was just curious. We have to be careful. Lu Ming reminded them. The three of them concealed their auras and went deeper into the sage. The sage was silent and very long. The three of them walked for thousands of meters before they reached the end of the sage, arriving at a huge underground cave. The cave was empty except for an altar that attracted their attention. The altar was engraved with dense runes that looked like small true dragons that were intertwined. At the very top, there was a piece of blood jade. Inside it, there were actually many small blood dragons swimming. There were also different gemstones of different colors embedded in the other parts of the altar. That's the rainbow divine stone. Suddenly, Yu Linglong cried out. Her eyes lit up as she stared at the 7 colored gemstones. Rainbow divine stone? Lu Ming was puzzled because he had never heard of such a gem. It's really the rainbow divine stone. The rainbow divine stone can be used to refine a kind of healing elixir. It has a powerful healing effect on the divine body. It can even heal the injuries of a divine realm expert. It can be sold for a lot of money. Yu Linglong's eyes lit up. Lu Ming's heart trembled. Then, his eyes lit up. If it could be refined into a healing elixir that was helpful to even sky gods, its value would definitely be very high. The higher one's cultivation was, the stronger one's divine body would be. Once injured, it would be harder to recover. Chapter 2709 The number 1 of the outer sect 100,000 years ago. The stronger one's cultivation was, the harder it was to recover from injuries. For example, Lu Ming had cultivated the indestructible heaven scroll, which was an unparalleled heavenly art in the heaven realm. No matter how serious his injuries were, he could recover quickly. His vitality was astonishingly strong, and he was known for his immortality. However, it was only effective for those below the demigod realm. Now that Lu Ming's cultivation level had reached 7th tier void god realm, his divine body was extremely powerful. Now that he was injured, using the indestructible heaven scroll to heal his injuries would not have any effect at all. It was the same for the healing elixir. If it was useful to experts with high cultivation, its value would naturally be greater. The rainbow divine stone could be used to refine divine pills that were useful to even sky gods. One could imagine how valuable it was. Kid, wait, don't go over. At this moment, the sound of the quant Thai formula suddenly rang out. Lu Ming jumped and hurriedly called out, "Wait a moment, don't go over there yet." Because at this moment, Yu Linglong and Wu Zifeng were approaching the altar to pick up the rainbow divine stone. Yu Linglong and Wu Zifeng were shocked by Lu Ming's shout and stopped in their tracks. "What's wrong?" Yu Linglong asked. Shaking his head, Lu Ming did not say anything. In fact, he did not know what was in front of him. "There's a large array in front. Once you step in, you'll probably be trapped by the large array." The quant Thai formula said. "Another formation." Lu Ming furrowed his brows. The grand array of the primeval universe was far more profound than the heaven realm and the primordial realm. With Lu Ming's attainments in array techniques, he could not see through it at all. "If there's a formation, how do we get the dark dragon blood jade?" Lu Ming used his spirit to ask the question formula. "Of course we have to find the formation core and break the formation." "Hey, boring battle, you were familiar with that guy, formation back then, so you should have some understanding of the formation Tao, right? Can you break the formation core and find it?" The quant Thai formula against the battle formula. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. Array? Could it be another formation from the ancient word of origin? Just by hearing it, one could tell that it had an unbelievable effect on the Tao of formations. "You talk too much nonsense, I'm looking for it." The deep voice of the battle symbol art sounded. "Hey, what are you saying? What nonsense? Make it clear to me today, or else I won't let you off." The quant Thai formula shouted. The entire character bounced as if it was going to pounce on the battle formula. Lu Ming was speechless. One word could actually give birth to such a weird character. The battle symbol art was too lazy to pay attention to the quant Thai symbol art. It seemed to be sizing up the formation, looking for a way to break it. "Ha ha ha, someone finally came." At this moment, a burst of laughter suddenly rang out in the cave. Lu Ming, Yu Linglong and Wu Zifeng were shocked. They did not expect that there would be someone else in the cave. "Who is it?" Yu Linglong shouted. The three of them looked behind the altar. At this moment, a figure walked out from behind the altar. This person had actually been hiding behind the altar all this time. Just now, the altar had blocked this person's figure, and his aura had been concealed very well. They had not discovered him at all. This was a young man who looked to be in his 20s. He was very handsome and had an extraordinary bearing. Moreover, the aura from this person's body was extremely powerful. He was also in existence at the true God realm. Someone had already entered this place. "Fellow junior brothers and sisters, I am Kong Ji Xing." The young man cupped his fists and said. "What? You said you're a star of SPCE? It's impossible." Yu Linglong cried out in disbelief when she heard the name. Lu Ming and Wu Zifeng were a little surprised. Why did Yu Linglong have such a big reaction when she heard this name? She even looked as if it was impossible. "This junior sister, I am indeed a SPCE star." The young man smiled. "Linglong, who's the star of the sky?" Wu Zifeng asked. 100,000 years ago, the number one on the virtual god ranking list of the Kongxian sect was called Kong Ji Xing. However, 100,000 years ago, when the Dark Dragon secret realm opened, Kong Ji entered the Dark Dragon secret realm and never returned. Everyone thought that he had died. Yu Linglong said. The number one virtual god ranking list from 100,000 years ago. Lu Ming and Wu Zifeng's eyes flickered. Could this person really be the star of the sky? Junior brothers and sisters, am indeed a SPCE star. I entered the Dark Dragon secret realm 100,000 years ago, but I didn't die. I just wanted to get the treasures here, but I missed the time to get out. Junior brothers and sisters, you've come at the right time. There's a rainbow godstone and a dark dragon blood jade on this altar. They're priceless treasures, but they're hard to take off. You'll help me take them down and well split them evenly," said Empty Star. "Don't believe him. There's a formation here. This kid is trapped by the formation. Once you get close to the altar, you'll be trapped by the formation as well. You'll share his burden, so hell have a chance to break through the formation." The Quant I-Tai formula called out. The Quant I-Tai formula had been around for countless years. Although he was not good at formations, he still had a good eye. Wait a moment. Lu Ming stopped Yu Linglong and Wu Zifeng, who were about to make a move. He then looked at the Empty Star and said, "Senior Brother Kong, since these rainbow divine stones and dark dragon blood jade are so difficult to retrieve, why don't you leave with us first and call for more helpers to help us? It'll be much easier that way." "No. The treasures are limited," said Empty Star. "If we call more people, how will we split it? Junior brothers and sisters, don't hesitate. I've studied this altar for 100,000 years and am very familiar with it. As long as we work together, we'll definitely be able to take the treasure." "Is that so?" Yu Linglong and Wu Zifeng were a little surprised by Lu Ming's half-smile. "Aren't you going to hurry up and help me?" The Empty Star called out, clearly a little impatient. "Hee, you don't have to shout. I can already see that there's a large formation here. You've been trapped by this formation and can't get out at all. That's why you've been trapped for 100,000 years. If we go forward, we'll also be trapped by the formation. At that time, we can help you share the pressure and you can escape, right?" Lu Ming smiled. "What?" Yu Linglong and Wu Zifeng's faces changed. Kong Xing's face darkened. He did not expect Lu Ming to see through his intentions. "Stop guessing. Hurry up and come over. Let's take the treasure together." Kong Xing's voice started to get louder. It was filled with unquestionable authority. He was the number one on the Void God realm ranking and the number one in the outer sect. Of course, he had his own authority. At that time, very few people in the outer sect dared to disobey him. However, Lu Ming, Yu Linglong, and Wu Zifeng were all extraordinary people. They would not give a damn about him. Not only did the three of them not advance, but they also took a few steps back. "Good, very good. If you don't want to come in, then I'll pull you in," Kong Xing said coldly. He completely lost his temper and a powerful aura exploded from his body. Chapter 2710 Battling the Empty Star. The Empty Star completely turned hostile. It exploded with a shocking aura that pressed towards Lu Ming and the other two like a tide. Third Stage True God Realm. Lu Ming, Yu Linglong, and Wu Zifeng's expressions changed. Kong Xing's cultivation wasn't at the first stage of True God Realm, but the third stage of True God Realm. Clearly, during these years in the Dark Dragon secret realm, even if he was trapped by the formation here, his cultivation still broke through and reached the third stage of True God Realm. Shwa! 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 The Empty Star made his move. With a wave of his hand, the sky was filled with his palm prints, which enveloped Lu Ming and the other two. "Attack!" Yu Linglong shouted and immediately attacked. Facing the star of sky, she didn't dare to be careless. She used all her strength as soon as she attacked. At the same time, Lu Ming and Wu Zifeng made their moves as well. All sorts of attacks collided with the palm print of the star in the sky. Boom! 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 Violent rumbles came from the cave as all kinds of attacks exploded. The palm prints of the stars in the sky were destroyed one after another. In the blink of an eye, the few of them had exchanged dozens of moves. Lu Ming, Yu Linglong, and Wu Zifeng were forced to retreat. The star of the sky was indeed worthy of being the number one on the virtual god ranking list 100,000 years ago. Its combat strength was shockingly powerful and was not something that ordinary heaven's favorites could compare to. If he wasn't trapped by the formation here, his cultivation wouldn't be at the third stage of true god realm. He would have reached a shocking realm long ago. However, Lu Ming's group of three were also very powerful. When Sky Star fought with the three of them, he was also forced to take a few steps back. You have some strength. Kong Ji's eyes were filled with shock. He did not expect that Lu Ming and the other two could block his attack. 100,000 years ago, in the outer sect area of Kong Xian sect, he was unrivaled even if they were at the same level. Now, his cultivation was far above Lu Ming and the other two, but he was not able to suppress them in one go. This was beyond his expectations. Let's see how many moves you can block. Get over here. Kong Ji Xing snorted and stepped forward. He reached out his palm and palm prints appeared again, blasting towards the three of them. The power of each move was stronger than before, giving people a strong pressure. Yu Linglong and Wu Zifeng's faces became very serious as they circulated their divine power to the extreme. As for Lu Ming, he was constantly triggering the battle formula. Boom! After a series of attempts, Lu Ming finally triggered the tripled combat power. Whoosh! 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 Lu Ming cast the first move of the three apocalyptic strikes, sky-piercing, and in an instant, spear lights appeared in the void like meteors, colliding with the palm print of the star in the sky. A loud boom was heard in the cave again. It had to be said that the star in the sky was indeed very powerful. Lu Ming felt a terrifying force surging towards him and he retreated quickly. The qi and blood in his body churned and he almost vomited blood. He didn't know that the empty star was even more shocked. Although he did not use his full strength just now, he was a third-tier true god. His attack was almost blocked by Lu Ming alone. Lu Ming was only at 7th-tier void god realm. I didn't expect such a powerful genius to appear in the Kong Xian sect after I was trapped for 100,000 years. However, your days are over today. Kong Ji's eyes were filled with killing intent and deep jealousy. Yes, it was jealousy. Lu Ming's combat strength and talent were obviously far above his. He wanted to kill him completely. Shua! He moved his body and was about to pounce on Lu Ming. Lu Ming and the other two gathered together, planning to fight with all their might. However, just as the empty star was about to approach them, runes suddenly appeared on the ground. These runes glowed with a resplendent light and filled the air with energy. It was extremely strange. At the same time, runes appeared on the empty star, exactly the same as the runes on the ground. These runes were like tentacles that tightly wrapped around the body of the empty star. The figure of the sky star that had pounced forward came to an abrupt stop, forcibly stopping in the air, unable to pounce forward in the slightest. He's been trapped by the formation. It's hard for him to leave the formation's range. Lu Ming's eyes lit up as he said to Wu Zifeng and Yu Linglong. D-A-M-N-it, break. The empty star roared and exploded with all his strength. He wanted to break through the formation but it was useless. He couldn't break through the formation at all. It seems that you won't be able to come out. Lu Ming sneered and had a mocking look on his face. The few of you, hurry up and get over here. Help me break this D-A-M-Ned formation. Otherwise, when I get out, it'll definitely tear you into 1,000 pieces. The empty star saw that he couldn't get out, so he started to roar and threaten them. You still want to come out? Now, you're like a fish on the chopping board, a live target. You're not begging us, but threatening us. You're really courting death. Lu Ming said coldly. I've heard that Kong Ji Xing is a narrow-minded person who will take revenge. 100,000 years ago, he wasn't the first on the void god rank in the Kong Xian sect. It was someone else. He killed that person and became first. If we don't kill him today, he'll definitely take revenge on us when he comes out. Yu Linglong said coldly. Then get rid of him. Wu Zifeng also said. For someone like Kong Xing, since he had offended him, he had to get rid of him. Otherwise, there would be endless trouble. Attack! Lu Ming made his move immediately. He stood in the distance and shot out a spear ray at the sky star. At the same time, Yu Linglong and Wu Zifeng also made their moves. They used their killing moves to attack the star of sky. The empty star blocked the attacks from Lu Ming and the other two. You want to kill me with just you guys? Dream on. Kong Ji Xing shouted coldly. His eyes were extremely ferocious and evil, as if he could not wait to cut Lu Ming and the rest into pieces. Lu Ming and the other two kept on attacking, but they were all blocked by the stars in the sky. Their cultivations were not as high as the empty star, and they were attacking from a distance, so their attack power was naturally reduced. Lu Ming frowned. In this case, it was indeed difficult for them to kill with the star of the sky. If he couldn't kill the star of SPCE, he wouldn't be able to get the Dark Dragon Blood Jade and the Rainbow Godstone. There are a few death relics in this formation. Once you attack them, the formation's power will increase exponentially. Lu Ming, attack the death relics. At this moment, the voice of the battle symbol art was heard. He had finally found some of the array's eyes and immediately guided Lu Ming on how to attack. All right. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. He changed the momentum of his spear and the spear's gleam changed its direction. It did not attack the empty star but instead, it attacked an empty spot. Boom! When Lu Ming's spearlight hit the empty SPCE, the runes of the formation suddenly shone brightly and its power increased greatly. At the same time, the runes that were wrapped around the empty star's body also increased in power. They were like steel cables, tightly tightening and trying to break the empty star's body into several pieces. Ah, what happened? D-A-M-N-it, what have you done? The empty star suddenly screamed in fear. Then, his body trembled and he spat out a large mouthful of blood. Die! Lu Ming said coldly. He launched another attack at the death eye of the formation, making the formation even more powerful. The empty star couldn't take it anymore. Cracks appeared on its body, and it spat out a large mouthful of blood. It was heavily injured. Chapter 2711 Formation within a formation. A formation would usually have a gate of life or a gate of death. These gates of life and death could also be the formation eyes of life or death. Attacking the formation's eye of life could break the formation, but attacking the formation's eye of death could stimulate the formation's power and make it even more terrifying. Lu Ming was attacking the death array eye of this large array, making the power of the large array even more terrifying. The empty star could not withstand it at all and was severely injured in an instant. Save me, Kong Xing roared in fear, his eyes filled with unwillingness. Rest in peace. Lu Ming said coldly. He could not bear to do so. Since he had offended such a person, he had to get rid of him. Otherwise, he would only bring trouble to himself. Whoosh! Lu Ming continued to attack the eye of the death array. Ah! The empty star let out a desperate cry and roared, "All of you will not die a good death, all of you will not die a good death." The next moment, the formation lit up. Under the power of the formation, the empty star's body exploded with a bang, and its physical body was shattered. Kong Ji Xing, the heaven's favorite who was ranked first on the Void God ranking list of Kong Xian sect 100,000 years ago, had died in this formation. This guy is finally dead. Yu Linglong heaved a long sigh of relief. The strength of the empty star was indeed powerful. If it wasn't for this formation, even if the three of them joined forces, they wouldn't be his match. After all, his cultivation was at the third stage of true God realm. Lu Ming, you can understand this array? Wu Zifeng looked at Lu Ming and asked. I know a thing or two. Lu Ming nodded and did not say much. He then scanned the ground. At the same time, the battle symbol art told him the location of the formation core of life. Breaking the formation eye of life can't completely destroy the formation. It will only suppress it for a short time. You only have 10 minutes. After 10 minutes, you must leave the range of the formation, or you will be trapped. The battle character said. 10 minutes, that's enough. Lu Ming muttered. Then, according to the instructions of the battle character formula, he started to attack the living array eye. Bang! 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 One attack after another landed on the ground, but there was a slight noise on the ground. Those attacks were like stones sinking into the ocean. However, the runes on the ground dimmed and then disappeared. The array has been suppressed. Let's take action quickly and take down all the rainbow divine stones in 10 minutes. Lu Ming shouted and rushed towards the altar. He grabbed the dark dragon blood jade with his palm. The purpose of his visit this time was the dark dragon blood jade. Bang! The dark dragon blood jade was firmly embedded in the altar. Lu Ming's grab did not pull it down, but it only made the altar shake. At the same time, Yu Linglong and Wu Zifeng also rushed over and grabbed a colorful divine stone each. However, they didn't grab it as it was firmly embedded. And this was only because the formation was being suppressed. If the formation wasn't suppressed, they would have been stopped by the formation and wouldn't be able to do anything to the dark dragon blood jade or the rainbow divine stone. If we can't take it down, why don't we just destroy this altar? Yu Linglong suggested. Good. Break it. Lu Ming nodded. They only had 10 minutes, so they had to end the battle quickly. The three of them took a few steps back and each unleashed their strongest power. 3 attacks blasted toward the altar. Boom! 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 The altar rumbled and shook violently. A crack appeared on it. It was effective. The 3 of them attacked with even more force. In less than 2 minutes, the entire altar exploded with a boom. Broken rocks flew everywhere. The dark dragon blood jade and the rainbow godstone on it flew out. Lu Ming's figure moved like an arrow that left the bow. He flew out and grabbed the dark dragon blood jade in his hand. At the same time, Yu Linglong and Wu Zifeng also made their moves and grabbed the colorful divine stones in their hands. Buzz! At this moment, the entire cave started to shake. Then, dense runes suddenly appeared on the ground and the walls of the cave. Then, a yellow liquid suddenly appeared on the ground. Chi. When the yellow liquid touched the feet of the 3, it made a sizzling sound and wisps of green smoke came out. The corrosiveness of this liquid was surprisingly strong. It should be known that the 3 of them were covered in divine power, but this liquid could even corrode divine power. If it had landed on his body would have been corroded. The 3 of them were shocked and immediately flew up. However, the yellow liquid under the ground was increasing in volume, as if it was constantly emerging from the ground. It's the divine transformation realm corpse water, a formation within a formation. There's actually a formation within a formation here. Can't you tell that it's a boring battle? In his sea of consciousness, the quant I formula shouted. I'm not a professional. The battle symbol art replied, and the measure symbol art trembled in anger. Let's go, well leave first. Lu Ming roared. There was more and more yellow liquid here, and once it filled the entire cave, they would be in danger. The three of them immediately rushed towards the entrance of the cave. However, when they approached the entrance, a light curtain spread out and blocked them. Clearly, this was also a part of the Great Formation. Break! Yu Linglong shouted and attacked continuously. However, the light screen did not move at all. Following that, Lu Ming and Wu Zifeng also launched their attacks, but the result was the same. They could not break it at all. Ha ha ha, you still want to leave? Let's die together and be buried with me. A shrill, maniacal laugh rang out. Star of Space. The faces of Lu Ming and the other two changed. This voice was clearly from Empty Star. However, wasn't Empty Star already dead? At this moment, a bright light flashed where the altar had been, and a figure appeared. It was the Star of Space. However, the star in the sky wasn't a real ent. But a shadow. A remnant soul. Lu Ming's heart stirred. He understood now. The empty star had indeed fallen, but because he had been trapped in the formation for 100,000 years, he had already formed a connection with the formation. After being killed by the formation, a wisp of his soul had fused with the formation. You can't escape at all. Die, all of you will die here. Empty Star's eyes were filled with madness. He raised his hands, and the runes in the cave shone even brighter. The yellow liquid on the ground rose even faster, and soon, it was a meter deep. Lu Ming and the other two could only float in the air to avoid it. However, this was not the way to go. This is the Soul Formation Corpse water. Its corrosive power is extremely terrifying. With our cultivation, we can't resist it at all. What should we do? Yu Linglong's little face was a little pale. Continue to attack that light curtain. Lu Ming shouted and continued to bombard the light screen. Now, they could only get out by bombarding the light screen. Yu Linglong and Wu Zifeng also joined in the attack. Chapter 27:12 Gathering of the Virtual God Ranking. Boring battle. Quickly find the array core, or else these kids are going to die here and well be buried here again. I've finally found a guy who's quite pleasing to the eye. I can't let him die like this. The Quant. Tai formula kept urging the battle formula. I'm looking for it. Cut the CRP, I can still find it faster. The battle symbol art said unhappily. The Quant. Tai formula immediately shut up. It's useless, it's useless. You can't get out. Stay here and be buried with me. Ha ha ha. Kong Ji Xing laughed crazily as he tried his best to activate the formation. The formation gave off a bright light. At this moment, it wasn't just the inside of the cave. The outside of the cave also gave off a bright light. In fact, the moment Lu Ming and the rest destroyed the altar, there was a strange sound outside. A beam of light shot into the sky and pierced the sky. It could be seen from far away. At the same time, the illusion array that had stopped Lu Ming and the rest from entering had disappeared. The lake was gone and in its place was a tall mountain that rose into the clouds. At this moment, the entire mountain peak was shining. What's that? With such a shocking phenomenon, there must be a treasure. Let's go and take a look. Let's go and take a look. Everyone who saw the strange phenomenon rushed over. In the cave, Lu Ming and the other two were still bombarding the light curtain. However, it was almost useless. The light curtain did not move at all. The amount of divine transformation realm corpse water in the cave was increasing. It was almost half full. What do we do? Am I going to die here today? I don't want to be drowned by the soul formation corpse water. If I am drowned by the soul formation corpse water, I won't be able to find my body. Yu Linglong was on the verge of tears. The thought of being drowned by the soul formation corpse water without a corpse left almost scared her to death. "Don't attack yet, save your strength," Lu Ming said. Since he couldn't blast it open, then he wouldn't attack. He would wait for the battle character formula to find the formation's eye, then concentrate all his strength and attack the formation's eye. Die. Seeing that Lu Ming and the rest could not blast it open, the empty star screamed even more crazily. The divine transformation realm corpse water in the cave quickly filled up 2/3 of the cave. The space that Lu Ming and the other two could move around in became smaller and smaller. "I found it. Lu Ming, attack 3 feet to the left, quick." At this moment, the voice of the battle formula rang in Lu Ming's sea of consciousness. "Attack!" Lu Ming's eyes lit up and he shouted, "Attack 3 feet to the left." Boom! At this moment, Lu Ming used all his strength and triggered the tripled combat power of the battle character formula. He circulated his divine energy to the extreme and then cast the first move of the 3 apocalyptic strikes, sky-piercing. A dazzling spear radiance was blasted 3 feet to the left of the light curtain. Yu Linglong and Wu Zifeng did not doubt him and also attacked with full force. Boom! 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 3 consecutive powerful attacks. Hit the light curtain 3 feet to the left. The light curtain shook violently, and this time, a crack appeared on the light curtain. It's effective. Continue. Yu Linglong was very excited. The 3 of them used their strongest attacks, and more cracks appeared on the light barrier. No, impossible, no, Kong Xing roared madly, his face twisted. Now, he was only left with a wisp of his soul. It would not be long before this wisp of soul would disappear completely. He was unwilling to give up. He wanted to drag Lu Ming and the other 2 to die with him. However, Lu Ming and the other 2 seemed to be on the verge of escaping. Lu Ming and the other 2 could not be bothered with the stars in the sky and continued to attack. After a few more moves, the light screen exploded with a bang. "Let's go." As soon as the light screen shattered, Lu Ming and the other 2 did not stop and rushed out of the Pa-est sage. D-A-M-N-it. The empty star roared. The divine transformation realm corpse water rolled and splashed onto the walls of the cave. The walls were corroded and turned into dust. Boom! 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 The entire mountain peak shook violently and was about to collapse at any moment. Lu Ming and the other 2 used their full strength and quickly said through the Pa-est sage and rushed out. As soon as they rushed out, the 3 of them frowned and stopped. This was because there were many people floating in the air outside, blocking the way. "It's him. It's Lu Ming!" Someone shouted as he recognized Lu Ming. These people had been attracted by the strange phenomenon here. They did not expect to see Lu Ming and the other 2 running out of the mountain the moment they arrived. "Lu Ming, what did you get in there? Take it out and let's see." A golden-robed young man stepped out, his eyes glimmering as he stared at Lu Ming and the other 2. "Ingtsang." Lu Ming's eyes turned cold. Ingtsang was from the Tianhong Saint Sun's sect. Back then, he had even asked someone to invite Lu Ming to join the Tianhong sect, but Lu Ming had rejected him. At that time, Lu Ming did not know Ingtsang's ident. He only found out later that Ingtsang was ranked 4th on the virtual god ranking and was also the top expert in the outer sect of the Tianhong Saint Sun sect. "Ingtsang, are you thinking too much? What did I get? Why do I have to take it out to see?" Lu Ming sneered, not giving Ingtsang any face. With Lu Ming's current cultivation, he was not afraid of anyone in the outer sect. However, the others did not know Lu Ming's combat strength. They were all shocked. This Lu Ming is really bold. He actually dares to talk to Ing Tsang like this. Overestimating your own ability, you're just looking for death. Some people sneered in disdain. As expected, Ing Tsang's eyes darkened. Back then, when Lu Ming had rejected his invitation to join the Tianhong Saint Sun sect, he had wanted to kill Lu Ming. He had ordered the people of the Tianhong sect to kill Lu Ming if they had the chance to. However, when he went to the forest of plants for training, the people from the Tianhong sect did attack Lu Ming. However, they all died in Lu Ming's hands. This made Ing Tsang furious. He had been looking for an opportunity to kill Lu Ming personally. Now, he finally had the chance. You've just joined the sect, yet you don't know how to respect your senior brother. You're too arrogant. Today, I'll teach you a lesson on behalf of the sect. Ing Tsang said coldly. He stepped forward, and a powerful aura burst out, pressing toward Lu Ming. First stage True God Realm. Without a doubt, after Ing Tsang entered the Dark Dragon's secret land, his cultivation had also broken through, reaching the first stage of True God Realm. With his fighting power, breaking through to the first stage of True God Realm was a little stronger than Mad Dao. However, Lu Ming did not care about the other party at all. Just as Lu Ming was about to take action, beams of light flew over from the distance. More people had arrived. A few of them were extremely fast and gave off a shocking aura. In the blink of an eye, they had arrived. The front section was filled with young people, both men and women. Each and every one of them had an extraordinary bearing, and they were all dragons and phoenixes among men. It's the Fengyuan Dao, the second-ranked virtual god ranking list's Fengyuan Dao. There's also the madman who's ranked third on the virtual god ranking list. Li Kunshan, seventh on the virtual god ranking. In the surroundings, many people cried out in surprise and widened their eyes. This was because the people who had just arrived were too powerful. They were all in the top 10 of the virtual god ranking in the outer sect of the Kongxian sect. Any one of these people could easily dominate the outer sect, but now, they came one after another. Chapter 2713 Forced when he saw Fengyuan Dao, Madman, Li Kunshan, and the others, Ing Tsang's expression turned grave. He stopped and no longer pressed toward Lu Ming. Ing Tsang, you're early. What's up? Did you find anything? Fengyuan Dao's gaze looked towards Ing Tsang, and a strange light flickered in his eyes. It was obvious that Fengyuan Dao suspected that Ing Tsang had obtained something. Ing Tsang's expression changed. He forced out a smile and said, Brother Feng must be joking, how could I have gained anything? I also just arrived, but these few people just came out of the mountain, I'm interrogating them. Facing Fengyuan Dao, Ing Tsang didn't dare to offend him. This was because the other party's background was not inferior to his at all. At the same time, his combat strength was above his. He had fought with Fengyuan Dao a few times in the past and lost miserably every time. When he was at the 9th level of the Void God Realm, Ing Tsang only had the experience of defeating a true God Realm expert. However, Fengyuan Dao had the battle record of killing a true God Realm expert. Defeating and killing were two completely different things. Oh. When Fengyuan Dao heard this, he turned to look at Lu Ming, Yu Linglong, and Wu Zifeng. When he saw Yu Linglong and Wu Zifeng, his eyes narrowed slightly. Because Yu Linglong and Wu Zifeng's cultivation base were also at the first stage of True God Realm, it was obvious that Wu Zifeng and Yu Linglong were the same as them, breaking through after entering the Dark Dragon's secret realm. To be able to do this, they were definitely experts among experts. On the other hand, Lu Ming, a virtual god level, was directly ignored by him. How may I address the two of you? Fengyuan Dao cupped his fists at Yu Linglong and Wu Zifeng. Yu Linglong. Wu Zifeng. Yu Linglong and Wu Zifeng answered. Fengyuan Dao, Madman, Li Kunshan, Ing Tsang, and the others all frowned, because they had never heard of these two names in the outer sect. Guys, what did you get inside? Feng Yuan Dao narrowed his eyes and asked. What did we get? This has nothing to do with you. Yu Linglong said. What do you mean by unrelated? Don't you know that everyone who sees it has a share? Ing Tsang berated, causing Yu Linglong to frown. Boom! 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 At this moment, the mountain suddenly exploded with a loud boom. The mountain peak exploded, and gravel flew everywhere. There was also divine transformation realm corpse water. Not good, quickly dodge. Lu Ming shouted. Together with Yu Linglong and Wu Zifeng, they dodged the splashing divine transformation realm corpse water. Ah! Ah! However, there were still people who were splashed by the soul formation corpse water. Their bodies were corroded, and they let out shrill screams. However, after a few moments, the screams stopped abruptly because their entire bodies had been corroded to the point that not even a residue was left. The others were shocked and tried to dodge. After everything had calmed down, everyone stopped with lingering fear. However, at least 5 or 6 outer sect disciples had died under the soul formation corpse water just now. You guys are so vicious. You knew that there was danger inside, but you didn't warn us. Are you trying to trick us? Ing Tsang stared at Lu Ming and the other two coldly, directly pinning a huge hat on them. Trap you? You're thinking too much. Ling Long, Brother Wu, let's go. Lu Ming could not be bothered with Ing Tsang and the rest. He flew forward, wanting to leave. You want to leave? Hand over what you've obtained before you leave. Ing Tsang shouted coldly. He stretched out his large hand and grabbed at Lu Ming. His palm emitted a dazzling golden radiance as if it was cast from gold. Get lost. It was not Lu Ming but Yu Linglong. A soft whip appeared in her hand. Like a venomous snake, the soft whip rolled toward Ing Tsang. Bang! The two of them exchanged a blow and a loud boom was heard. Yu Linglong was forced to take 3 steps back, but Ing Tsang was forced to take 5 steps back, more than Yu Linglong. What? The others were shocked and looked at Yu Linglong in shock. Yu Linglong actually had such a strong combat strength. Not only could she block Ing Tsang's attack, but Ing Tsang also retreated more than her. Where did this heaven's favorite come from? On the side, Feng Yuan Dao, Madman, Li Kunshan, and a few others all had grave expressions. Ing Tsang also looked at Yu Linglong in shock. After the exchange of blows just now, he was well aware of how amazing Yu Linglong's strength was. Even if he were to use his full strength, he might not be Yu Linglong's opponent. I'm afraid it won't be easy for you to leave alone. Ing Tsang's gaze turned to Feng Yuan Dao's group, wanting to drag them into the water. Is that so? At that moment, Wu Zifeng spoke and stepped forward, a shocking aura erupting from his body. Wu Zifeng's aura was so strong that it was even slightly above Yu Linglong's, which made the others even more shocked. It's really lively today. At this moment, a cold voice sounded in the sky. Following which, a young man appeared in the air and stood above everyone. This was a young man from the winged man race. He had a pair of purple wings and was tall and straight. His aura was powerful and carried a sense of pride. It's winged demons, winged demons. Many people cried out in alarm. Even Feng Yuan Dao, Madman, Ing Tsang, and the others' expressions changed drastically. There was no other reason. The winged demon's reputation was too great in the outer sect of the Kongxian sect, and it was above everyone else. The first on the virtual god ranking list, winged demon. This guy is also here. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. Of course, he had heard of the first place on the virtual god leaderboard. Whoosh! Whoosh! At this moment, in the distance, there were more and more people flying over. In just a short while, there were already hundreds of people gathered. It's W.A.N.G. Gao. There's also an open gift. Some people kept exclaiming because there were too many experts here. Some of them were also in the top 10 of the virtual god ranking list. To everyone's shock, 9 out of the top 10 virtual god ranking list had come. Other than Kuang Dao, almost everyone else was here. When these people found out that Lu Ming, Yu Linglong, and Wu Zifeng had just come out of the mountain, all of them cast their gazes on the three. They even moved their bodies slightly and surrounded Lu Ming and the other two in the middle, preventing them from escaping. Yes, we can't let them escape. We can't let them escape. At this moment, a sharp sound was heard. The sound came from the mountain that had just exploded. Everyone could not help but look in that direction. There were still rays of light shining from the shattered mountain. Then, a human figure appeared. It was the remnant soul of the empty star. Who is this? Many people didn't recognize the star of space and were a little surprised. You're a star of space? On the other hand, the winged demon roared in shock when it saw the sky star. It couldn't hide the shock on its face. The winged demon had seen the space star before. 100,000 years ago, when the space star was still here, it was the number 1 on the virtual god rank. If the space star hadn't disappeared, the winged demon might not have been able to get the number 1 position. What? The star of the sky? The number 1 on the virtual god ranking list 100,000 years ago? After hearing the winged demon's roar, many people remembered it. It can't be. It's really him. Didn't they say that he was dead? He actually didn't die. Many people exclaimed in shock. Chapter 2714 Empty Stars Scheme, Star of Space. Feng Yuan Dao, Madman, Li Kunshan, Ying Tsang, and the others all looked at the empty star in shock. They had never imagined that they would meet this legendary figure here. Winged Demon, we meet again. It seems that you've made a great progress. Kong Ji Xing said as he glanced at the winged howler. Then, he turned to Lu Ming and the other two, his expression ferocious. You can't let them go. They've obtained a supreme treasure. What? A supreme treasure? Many people were shocked. They looked at Lu Ming and the other two with burning eyes. Do you know why I disappeared for 100,000 years? It was because I wanted to get the treasure here. Unfortunately, I was trapped by the formation by accident and failed at the last step. I didn't expect that he would get it. Kong Ji Xing sighed and pointed at Lu Ming. As he said this, his body started to twist. He hated Lu Ming the most. It was Lu Ming who had seen through his scheme and used the death eye of the formation to harm him to this state. It was all Lu Ming's fault. He wanted Lu Ming to end up in an extremely miserable state. His remnant soul could not hold on for long and was about to dissipate. At the thought of him dissipating, his hatred for Lu Ming and the rest intensified. That's a supreme treasure. Once you obtain it, you'll definitely soar into the sky. It's just a matter of time before you dominate the Qin Heaven Galaxy. It'll depend on which one of you is fated to obtain it, ha ha ha. With that, the empty star's body exploded with a bang and turned into dust, completely disappearing. However, his words ignited the fire in everyone's heart. It was the fire of desire. No one would doubt the words of the empty star. The empty star had stayed here for 100,000 years for that treasure. If the treasure wasn't precious, why would he have stayed here for 100,000 years? What could be the treasure that made the empty star so crazy? Boom! 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 At this moment, everyone burst out with a shocking aura. With the winged demon, Feng Yuan Dao, and the others in the lead, they pressed toward Lu Ming and the other two. Especially Lu Ming. It was because the empty star had made it very clear that the treasure was in Lu Ming's hands. Lu Ming, hand over the treasure. Tsang could not help but make the first move. His entire body was covered in golden light as he pounced toward Lu Ming. Tsang, your opponent. Yu Linglong waved her soft whip, which turned into thousands of whip shadows and swept toward Tsang. Bang! Bang! The two of them exchanged dozens of blows in an instant. The result was that Tsang retreated thousands of meters, his hands trembling slightly. He was not Yu Linglong's match. Hand over the treasure. No one can protect you today. The winged howler said coldly. It looked down from above and stomped toward Lu Ming. Boom! At the last step, a shocking power burst out from his feet. His divine power was like a stormy sea that pressed down on Lu Ming. They were both at the first stage of true God realm, but the winged demon strength was indeed incomparably shocking. Just this move alone was a whole lot stronger than Mad Daos. Kong Xian sect's number 1 on the virtual God ranking list. I'd like to experience it. Wu Zifeng's eyes burst with a brilliant light. His body rushed up and his fingers pointed out like a sword. Chi. The sword Chi collided with the winged demon's attack, causing a shocking boom. The two of them retreated slightly. What? He's that strong? Everyone looked at Wu Zifeng in shock. Wu Zifeng was actually able to fight the winged demon. Where did this heaven's favorite come from? You're not from the Kong Xian sect? The winged demon looked at Wu Zifeng with a grave expression. Naturally not, said Wu Zifeng. His fighting spirit grew stronger, and his divine power was like an avalanche. And NBSP, sacred grade divine power. This person is the same as the winged demon. The divine power he controls is sacred grade divine power. This person isn't from the Kong Xian sect, but he's able to enter the Dark Dragon secret realm. What force is he from? Many people were guessing. Today, you want to protect the treasure with just the two of you? You're too naive. The winged demon said coldly, then glanced at the Fengyuan sect. Fengyuan Dao, Madman, Li Kunshan, and the others could not hold it in any longer. They all rushed toward Lu Ming. Kid, hand over the treasure and I'll spare your life. Li Kunshan roared and attacked first. The divine weapon he used was a warhammer. As he struck, the void exploded continuously with astonishing power. The giant hammer crushed toward Lu Ming as if he would be crushed into a pulp of flesh in the next moment. However, Lu Ming's expression was calm. He took a step forward and threw a punch without even holding a weapon. He wanted to use his fist to block Li Kunshan's giant hammer. This kid is looking for death. Some people shook their heads. As soon as Lu Ming made his move, they could tell that his cultivation was only at the 7th tier of the Void God realm. It was already good enough for a 7th tier Void God to enter the Dark Dragon secret realm. He actually dared to take Li Kunshan's giant hammer head on. If he was not courting death, what was? However, Yu Linglong and Wu Zifeng were calm. They knew how terrifying Lu Ming's combat strength was. Thump. Lu Ming's fist accurately collided with Li Kunshan's giant hammer. It was as if two stars had collided, and a shocking boom erupted. However, the result left everyone dumbfounded. After the collision, Li Kunshan was the one who retreated. Lu Ming's body only swayed slightly. How is that possible? At this moment, the pupils of the winged demon, Fengyuan Dao, Tsang, and the others contracted as they revealed disbelieving expressions. Lu Ming had actually managed to catch Li Kunshan's attack with his bare hands. Even the winged demon could not do that. Lu Ming was only at 7th level Void God level, but he had such strong combat strength. Li Kunshan himself was also stunned. I don't believe it, godly storm hammer. Li Kunshan roared and swung his giant hammer, attacking Lu Ming like a storm. A divine artifact appeared in Lu Ming's palm. It was a level 1 middle grade divine artifact. Buzz. Lu Ming's spear swept out. The long spear carried a terrifying power as it blasted towards Li Kunshan. Boom! The two of them collided for the second time, but this time, Li Kunshan let out a fled groan. His body was pushed back, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. This, everyone was stunned, thinking that they were dreaming. Lu Ming was actually suppressing Li Kunshan. They collided head-on and Li Kunshan vomited blood. Li Kunshan was ranked 7th on the virtual god ranking list. His combat strength far surpassed other powerhouses of the same level. Moreover, his cultivation had already broken through to the first-tier true god realm. With such combat strength, he was not Lu Ming's match. What kind of monster was this? At this moment, the winged demon, Feng Yuan Dao and the others looked extremely solemn. I'm telling you, I did get a treasure, but it's not that precious. But I know that you won't believe me no matter what I say now. Since you want the treasure, I'll fight with you today. Lu Ming held the long spear and looked around. Miss Ling Long, Brother Wu, you can leave now. If they want to fight, I alone am enough. Chapter 2715 1 against 9 I alone am enough. Lu Ming's words exploded in many people's hearts. They were so shocked that they were stunned. Lu Ming's words clearly meant that he wanted to challenge all the experts present with his own strength. Heavens! Many people were roaring in their hearts. If this news were to spread, it would shake the entire outer sect. Yu Linglong and Wu Zifeng's eyes flickered, but they did not object. Their figures flashed and they retreated to the side. Everyone, this brat is too arrogant. In that case, let's teach him a lesson, shall we? Ying Tsang's eyes turned. To be honest, from the combat strength that Lu Ming had displayed earlier, he was not confident that he could fight Lu Ming alone. Since Lu Ming was arrogant, he had a reason to team up with the others. That's right. This brat has taken the treasure and wants to keep it for himself. There's no need to talk about rules today. Let's suppress him together and force him to hand over the treasure. Feng Yuan Dao also spoke coldly. The mad scientist, Li Kunshan, and the rest all stepped forward and surrounded Lu Ming. In the end, even the winged howler did the same. It flapped its pair of purple wings and its body was covered in purple radiance. It looked extremely majestic as it appeared in front of Lu Ming. They were surrounded. There were a total of 9 people who surrounded Lu Ming. These 9 people were the top 10 on the virtual god ranking list. Except for Kuang Dao, all of them had attacked. The others could only retreat. Even if they wanted to interfere, they couldn't because Feng Yuan Dao and the others were all at the true god realm. The top 10 existences on the virtual god ranking list had all entered the true god level. The 9 powerhouses surrounded Lu Ming, who was only at the 7th level of the void god realm. Such a thing had never happened before in the history of Kong Xian sect. I have to say that Lu Ming is indeed a peerless genius. He's able to suppress Li Kunshan with his 7th-tier void god realm cultivation. His combat strength is terrifying. However, he's still too arrogant. He actually wants to challenge 9 experts at the same time. He doesn't stand a chance at all. Even the divine sons of the 3 overlord forces would be crushed under such circumstances. The difference in cultivation is too great. He's fighting 9 people at once. He doesn't stand a chance. Not bad, you're overconfident. Many people were discussing. Lu Ming, hand over the treasure and I'll spare your life. The winged howler said coldly. If word got out that so many people were attacking him at the same time, it would be detrimental to his reputation. If he could make Lu Ming hand over the treasure, he would not attack. However, Lu Ming obviously would not agree to it. Make your move. If you can defeat me, I can give you all the treasures I have. However, since you have made your move, you must pay the price. Lu Ming said coldly. The price? Ridiculous, you? Kneel down. Ing Tsang made the first move. His entire person looked like a golden man. With a move, he appeared in front of Lu Ming and pressed his palm down on him. A golden palm print pressed down on Lu Ming with shocking power. He was ranked 4th on the virtual god ranking list and was even stronger than Kwang Dao. Buzz. The long spear in Lu Ming's hands trembled slightly due to the crazy influx of divine energy. Then, he thrust the long spear at Ing Tsang. Pfft! Ing Tsang's golden palm print crumbled, and the sharp spear light continued to stab toward Ing Tsang. Ing Tsang's expression changed drastically and he retreated hurriedly. However, he was still a step too late. His palm was pierced by Lu Ming's spear radiance and exploded. Ah! Attack, attack together! Ing Tsang screamed. He circulated his god body to recover his broken palm. Attack! Fengyuan Dao and the rest attacked at the same time. All sorts of shocking attacks were launched at Lu Ming. Only the winged demon's eyes flickered. He hesitated for a moment and did not make a move. With so many people attacking at the same time, the power was extremely terrifying. Lu Ming did not dare to be careless. In an instant, Lu Ming triggered the double combat power of the battle character formula. Almost at the same time, he successfully triggered the triple combat power. Before he made his move, Lu Ming had already triggered the tripled combat power. Therefore, the moment he made his move, the tripled combat power was successfully triggered. Whoosh! 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 Lu Ming's long spear burst out and shot out more than 10 spear gleams in succession, clashing with the attacks of Fengyuan Dao and the rest. A series of explosions rang out between heaven and earth. Lu Ming was forced to retreat by this force. However, he had successfully blocked all the attacks. Block. He blocked it? Oh my God! When the others saw this scene, they were almost scared to death. Their eyes almost popped out. Lu Ming had actually blocked the attacks of Fengyuan Dao and the rest head-on. What kind of combat strength was this? Even the Fengyuan sect themselves were shocked beyond words. Your combat strength is only a so-so. Now, it's my turn. Lu Ming's indifferent voice was heard. A red gold armor appeared on his body. Kneel down. Lu Ming cast the 9-stage crimson gold armor to protect himself. He ignored the attacks of the others and rushed toward Ing Tsang. Ing Tsang was the most arrogant. Lu Ming had to get rid of this person first. Boom! Lu Ming's spear swept out. The spear's gleam was like a mountain, causing the air to explode continuously. Ing Tsang's expression changed drastically. Attack, attack together, die! Ing Tsang roared and then retreated frantically. He kept striking out with his hands. In an instant, hundreds of golden palm prints were blasted out. However, these palm prints crumbled under the pressure of Lu Ming's spear radiance. Attack! Fengyuan Dao and the rest launched their second round of attacks. However, this time, Lu Ming did not dodge or evade. He intended to take the attack head-on. Boom! Boom! The attacks from Fengyuan Dao and the rest landed on the scarlet gold armor, causing it to shake violently as if it was about to collapse at any moment. However, in the end, it was blocked by Lu Ming. Lu Ming's long spear had already hit Ing Tsang. Bang! Ing Tsang let out a blood-curdling screech, and his entire body flew down diagonally. Then, he crashed heavily into the ground, creating a huge pit. Continue to attack. He can't hold on any longer. Fengyuan Dao bellowed and launched another attack. The attacks continued to blast toward Lu Ming. Come on. There was a crazed look in Lu Ming's eyes. He continued to block with the scarlet gold armor. He wanted to use his opponent to temper his scarlet gold armor. Only then would he be able to improve quickly. Boom! 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 The continuous attacks landed on the scarlet gold armor, and a few cracks appeared on it. Lu Ming's body was also sent flying in the direction where Ing Tsang was sent flying. At this moment, Ing Tsang was lying on the ground and vomiting blood. He was almost scared to death when he saw Lu Ming flying over. Boom! Lu Ming's spear swept down, looking down from above and crushing down. The ground trembled, and a 100-mile-long spear mark appeared. It looked like a valley, and Ing Tsang was lying inside. All the bones in his body were almost broken, and he couldn't move at all. Although he did not die, he had lost the ability to fight. At the start of the battle, Lu Ming had already crippled one of them. This left many outer sect disciples dumbfounded. Chapter 2718 Extreme Cold Divine Technique. After leaving the Dark Dragon's secret realm, Lu Ming bade Yu Linglong and Wu Zifeng farewell. Yu Linglong and Wu Zifeng headed to the mission hall, ready to exchange the Dark Dragon Beast Core and Dragon Bone Flower for points. Of course, Wu Zifeng was not a member of the Kong Xian sect, so he naturally could not exchange for points. He gave the Beast Core and Dragon Bone Flower to Yu Linglong and let her exchange for points. Lu Ming did not head straight to the missions hall, mainly because he had to sort out the storage rings he had obtained from the Winged Demon and the rest. However, Lu Ming did not return to the outer sect. Now that he had caused such a big commotion, if he returned to the outer sect, it would definitely alert the outer sect. By then, it would be troublesome. Lu Ming found a random spot in the inner sect area, took out his storage ring, and started tapping lightly. There were mountains of divine crystals, blacksmithing materials, and low-grade divine artifacts of various levels. Qiu, here you go. Now, Lu Ming was rich and generous. He immediately took out a few level 9 low-grade divine artifacts for Qiu to eat. Previously, Qiu had been in the form of a bracelet and was wearing it on Lu Ming's wrist. At this moment, it had turned into a round ball. It picked up a few divine artifacts and gobbled them up. All these years, Lu Ming had not stopped feeding Qiu. Qiu's abilities had been improving. Now, it had already reached 8th level virtual god level and was very powerful. It was strong enough to fight against the top-ranked existences on the virtual god ranking. Qiu was eating at the side while Lu Ming began to count the Dark Dragon Beast Core and Dragon Bone Flower. The 9 storage rings, in addition to Quang Daos, could be said that the storage rings of the top 10 geniuses on the virtual god ranking list were all in Lu Ming's hands. These people were all powerful and had great gains. The Dark Dragon Beast Cores and Dragon Bone Flowers from the 10 of them added up to more than 3,000 points. If they were to be exchanged for points, that would be 300,000 points. On top of that, Lu Ming's own Nether Dragon Beast Core and Dragon Bone Flower could be exchanged for about 60,000 points. A huge harvest. This was a truly huge harvest. No wonder they were ranked in the top 10 of the virtual god ranking list. The 10 of them together had such a great harvest. Lu Ming and the rest were able to hunt a large number of Nether Dragon beasts and Dragon Bone Flowers because the Nether Dragon blood curse in Lu Ming's body would attract the Nether Dragon beasts and the Dragon Bone Flower. As for the others, they had to rely on themselves to find it, so it was much more difficult. It was already very good that the Winged Devil and the others had contributed so much. Saint-grade divine art and secret skill, here I come. Lu Ming laughed heartily in his heart. He then put Qiu away and headed to the Hall of Missions. When the people from the Hall of Missions saw Lu Ming taking out so many Dark Dragon Beast Cores and Dragon Bones, they were so shocked that they almost fell over. In a state of extreme shock, they exchanged points for Lu Ming. 360,000 points. Lu Ming had exchanged a total of 360,000 points. He left the missions hall in satisfaction and headed to the sutra library. The old men who were guarding the scripture chamber were still the same old men. "Senior, I would like to exchange for a divine grade technique. Is that all right?" Lu Ming cupped his fists and said to an elder. "You want to exchange for a divine grade technique?" The old man looked at Lu Ming in surprise. "Not bad." Lu Ming nodded. "Exchange? You can exchange for it, but you can only exchange for the first few levels at most. It's not very useful, and the price is very high. Do you really want to exchange?" The old man asked again. It was rare for people to come to the sacred storage pavilion to exchange for divine grade techniques. This was because divine grade techniques could only be exchanged for the first few levels. They were not very useful, but the price was shockingly high. Almost no one would come to exchange. "Senior, I want to exchange for the first level, mainly because I want to study it. Please allow me to do so," Lu Ming said sincerely. "According to the rules, you can exchange for it. Since you insist on exchanging, I won't stop you. Here are the introductions of several divine grade divine skills and techniques. Take a look for yourself." The old man gave Lu Ming a jade talisman. Lu Ming took it and read it carefully. Inside were simple introductions of several saint-grade divine arts and techniques, all of which were astonishingly powerful and had their own merits. "Senior, I'll choose the first stage of the ultimate cold divine technique," Lu Ming said after returning the jade talisman to the old man. He had his eyes on a divine technique called the divine technique of extreme cold. If the ultimate frost divine technique was cultivated to its peak, one could cultivate divine power. The ultimate frost divine power was extremely powerful and could freeze everything. The reason why Lu Ming chose the ultimate frost divine technique was that he had previously cultivated a king-grade divine technique, the divine frost technique. With the frost divine technique as a foundation, the speed of cultivating the ultimate frost divine technique would definitely be faster. "Okay, give me your ident. Tai token. It costs 50,000 points to exchange for the first level of the extreme cold divine technique," the old man said. "Lu Ming Pa S," said the ident. Tai token to the elder. The elder swiped it on an array disc and Lu Ming lost 50,000 points. The price was astonishingly high. If not for Lu Ming, the others would not have exchanged for it. However, Lu Ming did not feel the slightest bit of reluctance. One must know that obtaining the first level was equivalent to obtaining the entire ultimate cold divine technique. This is the first stage of the extreme cold divine technique, take it. Then, the old man took out a scroll from his storage ring and handed it to Lu Ming. "Many thanks, senior." Lu Ming received it happily and kept it in his storage ring. Then, Lu Ming walked into the scriptures depository and looked around. The first thing he wanted to do was to exchange for a divine skill and a secret skill. Now that he had the quant Tai formula, he could store Shen power in it. In the future, he could use his Shen skills to his heart's content, so he naturally had to cultivate another Shen skill. He wanted to find a speed-type divine skill to cultivate. At his cultivation level, the incomplete ROC wings technique that he had cultivated previously was no longer of much use. Other people had cultivated complete speed-type divine skills, and his speed could no longer keep up with others. Lu Ming looked around and soon, he arrived at the fourth level. There were all 7 or 8 levels of divine skills here. 9 Heavenly Kuan Pang Technique. Suddenly, Lu Ming saw a speed-type divine skill called the 9 Heavenly Kuan Pang Technique. His eyes lit up immediately. The 9 Heavenly Kuan Pang Technique was a 7-layered speed-type divine skill. It imitated the 9 Heavenly Kuan Pang, and once executed, one speed would be as fast as the Kuan Pang. The Kuan Pang was not an ordinary ROC. Even in the primeval universe, the Kuan Pang was an extremely terrifying existence. It was said that a newborn Kunpeng could travel freely in the universe and travel between different galaxies and star areas at an unimaginable speed. This 9 heavenly Kunpeng technique wasn't the complete version. It seemed to be an incomplete scroll, with only the first 7 stages. There seemed to be more after that, but they had already been lost. The exchange price was 30,000 points. "I'll take this." Lu Ming decided to exchange for the 9 heavenly Kunpeng technique. Now that he had a speed-type divine skill, the next step would be the secret skill. Lu Ming arrived at the 5th level. Chapter 2719 Extreme Cold Divine Power. On the 5th floor, there were only a few 9-fold divine skills and some secret skills. The value of secret skills varied greatly. Some cheap secret skills were very cheap. For example, the soul transformation technique that Lu Ming had bought back then could conceal the color, aura, level, and so on of divine power. To most people, such secret skills were of little value. Hence, they were not expensive. However, some secret skills were shockingly expensive. For example, the secret skills on the 5th floor of the scripture chamber of Kong Xian's sect were all very precious and useful. Even the cheapest one cost 100,000 points. Lu Ming looked at them one by one. He was tempted by many of them. However, not all the secret skills were suitable for him. In fact, there were many secret skills that had very strict cultivation conditions and various restrictions. For example, some secret skills required a corresponding divine power, some special materials, or requirements for the divine body. The more powerful it was, the more stringent the requirements would be. Therefore, many people could cultivate 1 or 2 secret skills at most, and they were all amazing. Generally, it was impossible to master too many secret skills. Ice chains. Suddenly, Lu Ming's eyes lit up. He saw a secret skill called Ice Chain. This kind of secret skill required one to control extremely cold divine power to cultivate. Previously, Lu Ming had cultivated the divine ice technique. Now, he had exchanged for the first stage of the ultimate cold divine technique. As long as he cultivated the ultimate cold divine force, it was just right to cultivate the ice chain. Once the ice shackles was successfully cultivated, it would form several ice shackles with amazing power. It had the effect of attacking and trapping enemies. Moreover, as one's cultivation level increased in the future, the power would also increase. However, the exchange price was shocking. It required 250,000 points. 250,000. Lu Ming's heart ached. Lu Ming's entire fortune only had a little more than 370,000 points. He had obtained 360,000 points from this trip to the Dark Dragon's secret realm. He had more than 10,000 points left previously. In total, he had more than 370,000 points. Previously, he had used 50,000 points to exchange for the divine formula of extreme cold. Then, the 9 heavenly Kunpeng technique required 30,000 points. If he were to continue exchanging for the ice chain, Lu Ming would be left with a little more than 40,000 points. "I've exchanged." Lu Ming gritted his teeth and decided to redeem the points. The remaining 40,000 points were enough for the time being. The key was to convert the points into strength. After making his decision, Lu Ming went to the door and exchanged for the 9-stage Kunpeng technique and ice chain from the elder. Seeing that Lu Ming was able to fork out so many points even though he was only at 7th tier Void God realm, the elder was taken aback. He guessed that Lu Ming might be the disciple of an important figure in the Kong Xian sect. After successfully exchanging for the 9-stage Kunpeng technique and ice chain, Lu Ming went to the Divine Pulse Tower and entered it to cultivate. In a secret room in the Divine Pulse Tower, Lu Ming sat cross-legged and took out the first stage of the divine technique of extreme frost. He began to study it in detail. Lu Ming only started to cultivate after he had understood most of it. It was indeed very difficult to cultivate a divine-grade technique. Even though it was only at the first level, it was the easiest. With Lu Ming's talent, he had to cultivate for a few months before he succeeded. After cultivating the first stage, a wisp of divine power of extreme cold was produced in Lu Ming's body. He immediately started to circulate the universe thousand Tao art. Just like that, the divine force of the utmost cold became thicker and thicker. Finally, a divine fire was condensed in Lu Ming's dantian. The fifth divine fire was a divine fire condensed from the divine power of extreme cold. The extreme cold divine power was a sacred grade divine power, and its power was shocking. Voila! Lu Ming circulated the ultimate cold divine energy alone. With a wave of his hand, his palm was covered with a layer of the ultimate cold divine energy. It was extremely cold. The temperature of the entire secret chamber dropped sharply, and the chill was bone-chilling. Even a high-level virtual god-level powerhouse would be frozen at this temperature. What a powerful force! As expected of the divine power. Lu Ming smiled. He was quite satisfied with the power of the divine power of frost. At the moment, he had 5 types of divine power in his body. The power of the extreme cold divine power was second only to the chief sovereign divine power. The primal universe was completely different from the heaven realm and the primordial realm. When he was in the heaven realm and the primordial realm, Lu Ming had mastered many laws. He had long mastered the power of ice. However, that power of ice was only the power of ice in the heaven realm and the primordial realm. It was produced under the operation of the heaven Tao of the heaven realm and primordial realm. The heavenly Tao of the heaven realm and the primordial realm was completely useless against the primal universe. Even though Lu Ming had mastered the mysterious laws of fate, spacetime, chaos, and so on in the heaven realm's primordial realm, they all existed based on the heaven Tao of the heaven realm's primordial realm. As for the primeval universe, it naturally had its own divine laws, which were useless in the primeval universe. The power and divine power that one could control in the desolate universe was the supreme power. For example, if the ultimate cold divine power that Lu Ming was cultivating now were to strike the heaven realm's primordial realm, the entire heaven realm's primordial realm's evil god world would probably be frozen. Even the heavenly Tao would be frozen. Be it the laws of fate or the laws of time and space, they were all useless. They were all sealed in ice. This was because this was the supreme power that belonged to the primal universe and greater world. Continue cultivating. Lu Ming closed his eyes and continued to cultivate. The divine fire of the divine power of extreme cold had just been ignited, and its strength was far from that of other divine fires. It needed time to grow. Time flew by. Lu Ming had been cultivating in the divine pulse tower for 10 years. After 10 years, Lu Ming finally managed to cultivate the divine fire with the ultimate cold divine power to the same size as the other divine fires and the same density of divine power. Lu Ming's cultivation level also improved and he was close to the 8th level of the Void God realm. On the other hand, Lu Ming's abilities had undoubtedly become more powerful. If he were to fight the Winged Demon, Fengyuan Dao, and the others now, Lu Ming would win more easily. Lu Ming did not leave immediately. Instead, he started to store divine power into the measure formula. When the divine power was exhausted, Lu Ming would absorb the divine power from the outside world to replenish it. Then, he would continue to store divine power in the measure formula. A year later, Lu Ming left the divine pulse tower and headed to another cultivation ground. He began to cultivate the 9 heavenly Kun Peng technique and ice chains. It wasn't too difficult to master the ultimate frost divine technique and the ice shackles. He succeeded in cultivating them very quickly. In an open space, large groups of dire beasts charged at Lu Ming. This was a place to cultivate a divine technique. This place was within a large array. These desolate beasts were naturally condensed by the large array. However, their combat strength was astonishing and they were not afraid of death. Ice chains. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. With a wave of his hand, a few chains flew out of his body. These chains were completely condensed by the divine power of absolute frost and seemed to be solid. Whoosh! 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 The 9 chains danced in the air and bound the 9 wild beasts tightly. The terrifying power of ice was about to freeze these wild beasts. Chapter 27:20 The Ice Soul Clan Roar. Roar. The 9 wild beasts roared madly and struggled to break free. These 9 wild beasts were all at the first stage of True God Realm. Of course, they were only ordinary first stage True God Realm experts and couldn't be compared to the Winged Demon and the others. However, the 9 ice chains made a creaking sound as if they could not hold on any longer. Condense. Lu Ming continued to control the ice chains, trying to strangle the 9 dire beasts. However, as the dire beasts struggled, the creaking sound of the ice chains grew louder and louder. Finally, with a bang, the 9 chains exploded. Roar! Roar! The 9 wild beasts roared as they charged at Lu Ming. Lu Ming took out a long spear and stabbed 9 times in a row, killing the 9 wild beasts. Sigh, it seems that if I want to cultivate the ice chain to its strongest power, it's far from enough to rely on the divine power of the ultimate cold. Lu Ming sighed. According to what was recorded in the ice shackles, if one wanted to cultivate it to completion and unleash the full power of the ice shackles, they would need some special materials. Without these materials, the ice chains would be like having no foundation. They would break with a single strike and would not be able to unleash their full power. According to the secret technique, the best material to cultivate the ice shackles was the cold moon stone. The cold chi contained in the cold moon stone could allow the cultivation of the ice shackles to reach large success. Lu Ming left the cultivation place and went to the library. After reading a large number of books, he found out that the cold moonstone was very rare and precious. It was almost extinct in the Qin Heaven Galaxy and only the Ice Soul Clan had it. However, the Ice Soul Clan was one of the most powerful clans in the Qin Heaven Starfield. There were many races in the Qin Heaven Starfield, but there were only 2 strongest. One of them was the Ice Soul Clan. The Ice Soul Clan was stronger than the Kong Xian sect and any of the 3 overlord forces. Only a few forces working together could compete with the Ice Soul Clan. The Ice Soul Clan's strength was evident. The Cold Moon Stone was an extremely precious treasure of the Ice Soul Clan. It was not easy to get it. It seems that I can only put the ice chain aside for now. I'll go to the Ice Soul Clan and find some cold moon stones when I improve my cultivation. Lu Ming pondered and then returned to the place where he cultivated the divine skill, focusing on it. Cultivation knew no time. Spring said and autumn came. In the blink of an eye, 20 years had said. In the past 20 years, Lu Ming had devoted himself to practicing various divine skills and had made great progress. The 9-stage crimson gold armor had reached the 3rd stage, and the 3 apocalyptic strikes had also broken through to the 3rd stage. As for the speed-type divine skill, the 9 heavenly Kuan Peng technique, Lu Ming had cultivated it to the 2nd stage. Meanwhile, Lu Ming's cultivation base was rising steadily and was slowly approaching the peak of 8th level Void God Realm. One should know that at high-tier virtual god level, it would take tens of thousands of years to advance each level. It was already very good that Lu Ming could advance his cultivation to peak 8th tier virtual god level in 20 years. Also, the probability of triggering the battle formula's tripled combat power had also increased to a quarter. Out of the 4 times it was triggered, 1 would succeed. My cultivation has already reached the peak of the 7th level of the Void God Realm. Why don't I try to break through to the 8th level in one go? Lu Ming pondered and went to the Divine Pulse Tower to break through to the next realm. A few months later, Lu Ming succeeded as expected. His cultivation had reached 8th tier Void God realm, and his combat strength had increased greatly. Lu Ming was very satisfied. He consolidated his cultivation for a few more days before he walked out of the Divine Pulse Tower. As soon as he walked out of the Divine Pulse Tower, Lu Ming saw a familiar person. It was the outer sect elder, Huaquan. Lu Ming, I've been waiting for you for a few days. If you don't come out in a few days, they'll have to go in and call you. Huaquan said with a smile. Obviously, Huaquan had found out from the guards of the Divine Pulse Tower that he was cultivating in the Divine Pulse Tower. This was not difficult to find out. Is there something you need, Elder Hua? Lu Ming asked. It's not me, it's the sect master. The sect master has something for you to do. Huaquan said. The Dragon Boat's mountain finally has something to ask me. Lu Ming's eyes flashed. It had been a few decades since the Dragon Boat's mountain cast the dark dragon blood curse on him. The Dragon Boats had never looked for Lu Ming in the past few decades, but Lu Ming knew that it was only a matter of time before the Dragon Boats came looking for him. Sect Master, what is it that you want to talk to me about? Lu Ming asked. I'm asking you to complete a mission related to the Ice Soul Clan. You're not going alone this time. Some people will go with you. You'll be rewarded with 20,000 points each if you complete the mission. Huaquan said. I'm going to the Ice Soul Clan for a mission. Lu Ming's heart stirred. What a coincidence. Only the Ice Soul Clan had the Cold Moon Stone. Lu Ming had planned to visit the Ice Soul Clan after his cultivation level was higher, preferably after he had broken through to the True God level, but it seemed that he had to go earlier. That's good, I'll see if I can get some Cold Moon Stones. As for the reward of 20,000 points, Lu Ming was not particularly concerned. It was just a passing thought. How many people from the Kongxian sect are coming? Lu Ming asked again. This time, all the inner disciples are under 10,000 years old. There are 9 of them in total. Including you, there are 10 of them. Furthermore, you are the team leader this time. Huaquan said. At this point, Huaquan carefully sized up Lu Ming, his eyes revealing deep shock. As an outer sect elder, of course, he knew about Lu Ming's fight against 9 of the top 10 virtual gods in the Dark Dragon's secret realm. When he first heard about it, he was deeply shocked. His first reaction was disbelief. Now, when he saw Lu Ming's cultivation, he was shocked once again. 8th level Void God realm. He remembered very clearly that Lu Ming's cultivation base was only at the demigod realm when he won first place in the 13 clans A.S. assessment. It had only been a few decades, but Lu Ming's cultivation base had skyrocketed to 8th level Void God realm. No wonder the sect master would personally meet him. He is indeed a monstrous genius. Huaquan thought to himself. Am the captain? Lu Ming was stunned. He had never thought that he would be the captain this time. That's right. This is the sect master's order. Also, this is your team leader's flag. It represents your authority as a team leader. In this mission, the other 9 people will listen to your orders. After saying this, Huaquan took out a flag that was slightly bigger than his palm. The flag was golden in color, as if it was made of gold. All right then. Lu Ming nodded speechlessly, took the flag and kept it. Come with me. The others have been waiting for you for 2 days. Huaquan smiled and turned to fly in one direction. Lu Ming followed him. 9 young men were waiting in an open space in the inner court. These 9 people, there were both men and women. They all looked very young, under 10,000 years of age. Moreover, they were all inner sect disciples with True God realm cultivation base. To be able to break through to the True God realm under 10,000 years, without a doubt, they were all dragons among men, people with outstanding talent. Chapter 27-21 In the captain. These 9 people were going to the Ice Soul clan with Lu Ming to carry out the mission. But at this moment, the 9 of them were getting impatient. Who is our captain? He's so arrogant to make the 9 of us wait for him for 2 days. A young man said unhappily. That's right. I'd like to see who is so arrogant. Will your strength be enough to convince the Ma? Ses. The other young woman also spoke with an impatient expression. The others didn't say anything, but their gloomy faces spoke for themselves. They're here. Suddenly, a young man raised his head and looked at the sky. The others also looked over. In the sky, 2 figures were approaching. They were Lu Ming and Elder Huaquan. Lu Ming and Huaquan landed on the ground. Elder Huaquan. The young men and women cupped their fists and saluted Huaquan respectfully. They all knew in their hearts that although Huaquan was only an outer sect elder, his true ident. Tai was a grand disciple of the sect master, Long Zhou's mountain. He was highly regarded by the sect master, and his current position as an outer sect elder was just a trial. Even many inner sect elders would be polite to Huaquan when they saw him, so they naturally didn't dare to act rashly. No need to be so polite. Huaquan waved his hand and said. The 9 young men stood up and cast a glance at Lu Ming, completely ignoring him. Elder Huaquan, you said you were going to bring our captain here, but why don't I see him? We've been waiting for 2 days, that's right. Who is it that is so arrogant that even Elder Huaquan can't invite him? Everyone chimed in. They had never thought that Lu Ming was the person they had been waiting for. The ident. Tai token hanging on Lu Ming's body showed that he was an outer sect disciple. How could an outer sect disciple be the person they were waiting for? Moreover, he was their team leader. They thought that Lu Ming was just a lackey of Huaquan. You don't have to wait. He's here. Come, let me introduce him to you. This is Lu Ming. He'll be your team leader for this mission. Huaquan pointed at Lu Ming and said. What? The 9 young men and women were stunned. They stared at Lu Ming and then at Huaquan. Him? Elder Huaquan, did you make a mistake? He's just an outer sect disciple, yet he wants to carry out a mission with us. Wouldn't he be a burden to us, and he's our team leader? What a joke. 2 young men immediately shouted. Kid, you better hand over the captain's flag. That's right. Hand it over quickly. Don't think that we don't know your purpose. You're there to get points, but don't think that you'll harm us because of your greed. The rest of the people pointed their spears at Lu Ming. The mission this time was completed, and everyone could get 20,000 points. 20,000 points was 200 million divine gems. It was a huge sum even for ordinary inner disciples. They felt that Lu Ming was envious of the reward, and that was why he followed them to get the points. Get points? Greedy? Lu Ming sneered in his heart. He glanced at the 9 young men and women indifferently and said, The news I received is that you're the team leader for this mission. You all have to listen to my orders. You want to rebel now? Bullshit, what rebellion? Don't think too highly of yourself. Who do you think you are? That's right, hand over the captain's flag and get lost. A few of them were instantly enraged and berated loudly. Their cold aura pressed down on Lu Ming. Enough. At this moment, Huaquan's shout made everyone quiet down. Huaquan's expression turned to the 9 young men and women with displeasure as he said, Let me tell you, this mission was personally signed by the sect master. Lu Ming is the team leader, and the sect master personally named him. If you have any objections, you can talk to the sect master directly. The 9 young men looked at each other. How would they dare to look for the sect master? Are you guys doubting the sect master's vision? Huaquan asked again. This disciple doesn't dare. The 9 young men and women hurriedly said. Since you don't dare to, then follow my orders. I'm telling you, you have to follow Lu Ming's orders for this operation. Do you understand? Huoquan's eyes gleamed as he spoke, and his body began to exude a powerful and icy aura. Yes, yes, the 9 young men and women nodded repeatedly. However, although they nodded on the surface, no one knew what they were thinking. Alright, let's go. I'll take you to the teleportation formation. Then, we'll go to the Ice Soul clan through the teleportation formation. Let's go. Huoquan said as he turned around and left. The others quickly followed. The Kongxian sect was very far away from the Ice Soul clan. They were separated by many galaxies. Even though they took the teleportation formation, it still took them more than a month. Finally, they arrived on a planet. Huoquan did not continue to send them there because they were already in the territory of the Ice Soul clan. They were received by the Ice Soul clan. Is this the Ice Soul clan? Lu Ming sized up the Ice Soul clan members curiously. The appearance of the Ice Soul clan was not much different from that of human beings. The biggest difference was their hair and pupils, which were both snow-white. His skin was also slightly whiter than that of an ordinary human, and he exuded a frosty aura as he walked. Everyone, follow us. An old man from the Ice Soul clan smiled and led Lu Ming and the others to the main planet of the Ice Soul clan, the Ice Soul planet. They arrived at Ice Soul Star after a few days. Ice Soul Star, as its name suggested, was a real ice planet. The entire planet was sealed in ice. Everywhere on the planet was freezing cold. Most of the buildings in the Ice Soul clan's main city were made of ice that had been frozen for hundreds of millions of years. The Ice Soul clan brought Lu Ming and the others to a hall. The hall was filled with 100-million-year-old ice. The cold air was overbearing and the temperature was extremely low. If it were not for their profound cultivation skills, they would have been frozen into popsicles. However, Lu Ming felt very comfortable. He had cultivated the ultimate cold divine technique and could control the ultimate cold divine power. As the divine power circulated, the cold air outside continuously gushed into Lu Ming's body. He felt extremely comfortable. Young heroes, for this mission, apart from the Kongxian sect, the Ice Soul clan has also invited some other sect prodigies from the Qin Heaven 13 clans. Some of them haven't arrived yet and will have to wait a few days. You can stay here for the next few days. The old man from the Ice Soul clan said. There are people from other sects? Everyone's heart moved, and they revealed curious expressions. They were curious about what the mission this time was. The Ice Soul clan did not say much. They simply explained a few things and left. After the Ice Soul clan left, Lu Ming strode to a room. He planned to cultivate while he waited. Chapter 27-22 If you want it, come and get it yourself. Lu Ming, stop. At this moment, a cold voice was heard. Then, a figure flashed and a young man in a purple robe appeared in front of Lu Ming, blocking his way. Then, in a flash, the other 8 young men and women surrounded Lu Ming. He's really in a hurry. The corners of Lu Ming's lips curled up slightly, forming a cold smile. Lu Ming, Elder Huoquan is not around now and no one can protect you. You'd better hand over the team leader's flag. You have no right to be our team leader, do you understand? The purple-robed young man said with a look of disdain. That's right. If you hand over the flag obediently, we might let you take on a mission for the sake of our fellow disciples. You might even get a huge amount of points. Otherwise, we can only ask you to get lost. The other young woman was even more domineering and had a haughty expression. As soon as they arrived at the Ice Soul clan's territory, they could not help but ask Lu Ming to hand over the team leader's flag. My position as the team leader was personally appointed by the sect master. Could it be that you all want to disobey the sect master's order? Lu Ming said indifferently, his expression very calm. Don't use the sect leader to pressure us. There's an old saying that goes, when a general is outside, he will not listen to the orders of the sovereign. Furthermore, this mission concerns the safety of all of us. How can we let an outer sect disciple like you be the team leader and endanger our lives? That's right. Furthermore, there are people from other sects here as well. If they find out that our team leader is an outer sect disciple, we'll be laughed at. Why are you talking so much nonsense with him? If he doesn't hand it over, we'll take it ourselves. A few young men spoke coldly, and some of them were already getting impatient. It's not impossible for me to hand over the flag. At this moment, Lu Ming's voice was suddenly heard. The others smiled disdainfully. They knew that Lu Ming would not dare to disobey their wishes. But I'm very curious. If I give the flag to you, who will be the leader? Lu Ming said with a smile. Of course, it'll be the team leader. My cultivation is the highest here. A young man with a long face said arrogantly. Bulls. H.I.T., you have the highest cultivation? What a joke, did you ask me? A tall and burly young man immediately roared, and a powerful aura erupted from his body. 4th level True God stage. This burly young man exuded an extremely shocking aura. His cultivation was at the 4th level of the True God realm. Lu Ming's eyes flickered, revealing a look of surprise. He was indeed worthy of being an elite of the inner sect. He was less than 10,000 years old, but his cultivation had already reached the 4th level of the True God stage. With this kind of cultivation, he could even become an overlord in the chaotic astral river. For example, the palace master of the Yuanluo Palace and the sect master of the Xiaoyao sect were both at the 4th stage of the True God realm. However, the combat power of the inner disciples of the Kongxian sect was definitely far above that of the palace master of the Yuanluo Palace and the sect master of the Xiaoyao sect. I'm not afraid of you. The long-faced young man also exploded with a shocking aura. He was also at the 4th stage of True God realm and he fought against the burly young man. The other people's eyes could not help but reveal fear and solemnness. Don't be incited by this brat. If he wants us to make a move, it won't be too late to make a move after we get the flag. At this time, another young man spoke. The long-faced young man and the burly young man then retracted their aura and looked at Lu Ming. That's right, let's get the flag first, then we'll decide who's the leader. The long-faced young man said. Brat, your instigations are too low level. They're useless against us. Hand over the flag and don't waste our time. The purple-robed young man shouted. The others also stared at Lu Ming with an unfriendly expression. Looks like you guys still have some intelligence and aren't too stupid. Alright, whoever wants the flag, come and take it. Let's see if you have the ability to do so. Lu Ming smiled and opened his palm. The flag was in his palm. You overestimate yourself and still dare to fight with us. Then I'll teach you a lesson first. The purple-robed young man took the lead. He took a step forward and waved his hand. His 5 fingers stretched out and grabbed at Lu Ming like a cage. The divine energy whistled. Before the claw had even reached Lu Ming, the powerful airflow was already crushing him with shocking power. This purple-robed young man had the cultivation of the 2nd stage of True God. Your cultivation is not bad, but your combat strength seems to be ordinary. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat and he threw a punch with his bare hands. This brat actually dared to fight back, and he even fought back empty-handed. He really doesn't know his own strength. One move and he'll probably be kneeling on the ground. The other young men also had the same thought. However, in the next moment, they couldn't help but widen their eyes in disbelief. Lu Ming's fist collided with the purple-robed young man's claw. A loud boom was heard, and a figure was forced to retreat. The person who retreated was the purple-robed youth. The purple-robed young man staggered and took more than a dozen steps back before he could stabilize himself. You, the purple-robed young man looked at Lu Ming in shock. He could not believe it. He was at the second-tier True God realm, while Lu Ming's aura was only at the 8th-tier Void God realm. He was actually forced back by a person at the 8th level of the Void God realm in one move. How was this possible? You want to be the team leader with this bit of strength? What a joke. Lu Ming smiled in disdain. Kid, don't be so insolent. I only used 30% of my power just now. The purple-robed youth shouted. Indeed, he had only used 30% of his power. He had thought that 30% of his power would be enough to deal with an outer disciple. He did not expect that Lu Ming's ability was beyond his imagination. I'm sorry, I only used 10% of my power just now. Lu Ming smiled faintly. He had indeed only used a tenth of his strength, but how could the others believe it? You're boasting shamelessly. I'd like to see what kind of ability you have. The purple-robed young man roared. A sword chi soared into the sky. A combat sword appeared in his hand. He used a divine skill. The sword chi whistled and swept toward Lu Ming. Lu Ming's palm glowed and a long spear appeared. The long spear vibrated and swept toward the purple-robed youth. Boom! 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 With a few consecutive booms, the purple-robed young man's sword chi collapsed and the long spear continued to lash at him. His body shook violently and he was sent flying by Lu Ming's spear. He crashed into the wall made of 100-million-year-old ice and almost shattered it. Pfft! The purple-robed young man spat out a mouthful of blood. His face was pale as he looked at Lu Ming in shock. He had already used all his strength and displayed a divine skill, but he was not a match for Lu Ming's spear and was injured by it. How could Lu Ming's ability be so powerful? It was too terrifying. He could not believe it. An 8th-tier virtual god ranking list could actually suppress him, which was a huge blow to him. On the side, the other 8 young men and women were also dumbstruck as they watched this scene. Chapter 27-23 Do you still want to fight? Your strength is very ordinary. Lu Ming muttered in his heart. He compared the purple-robed youth with the winged demon, Feng Yuan Dao, Madman, and the others. He realized that if they were at the same level, the purple-robed youth was far from being a match for the winged demon, Feng Yuan Dao, and the others. This was normal. Winged demon, Feng Yuan Dao, and the others were the top 10 existences on the outer sect's virtual god ranking list. Their combat strength far exceeded those of their peers, and the other outer sect disciples couldn't compare to them. After they entered the inner sect, they would definitely be the elite disciples of the inner sect. Their future prospects would definitely not be comparable to ordinary disciples. Although the purple-robed young man was considered an elite in the inner sect, he was still far from the winged demon and the others. Although his cultivation had reached the second stage of True God realm, his fighting power was probably not as good as Feng Yuan Dao and the others who were at the first stage of True God realm. Moreover, Lu Ming's current strength had improved by leaps and bounds compared to when he was in the Dark Dragon's secret land. Naturally, it was easy for him to deal with the purple-robed youth. You're still trying to fight for the captain's position with such weak strength? Who else wants the captain's flag? Make your move. Lu Ming's gaze swept across the other 8 people. A few people's expressions changed. Their cultivation was on par with the purple-robed young man. Lu Ming could easily crush the purple-robed young man. They were definitely not his match. However, not everyone would be afraid. Kid, you're quite strong. You must be in the top 3 of the outer sect virtual god ranking list. The long-faced young man narrowed his eyes and said coldly. The others' eyes flickered as they came to a realization. Only the top 3 on the virtual god ranking list would have such terrifying strength. You talk too much nonsense. If you want to attack, then hurry up. If you don't dare, then get lost. Lu Ming berated. How presumptuous. I can even defeat the number 1 on the virtual god ranking list. Today, I'll show you the difference between the inner sect and the outer sect. The long-faced young man's eyes were cold. In a flash, he was like a bolt of lightning, charging toward Lu Ming. Its speed was shockingly fast. This was a speed-type divine skill. An ordinary person would have been hit before they could even react. However, Lu Ming was not an ordinary person. Buzz. The long spear in his hand buzzed and trembled. Then, it burst out and turned into dozens of spear shadows, stabbing in all directions. Buzz. The next moment, the long-faced young man's figure appeared. He drifted backward and avoided Lu Ming's attack. Kid, your reaction is quite sharp. Then I'll suppress you with my power. The long-faced young man shouted coldly, and his aura of a stage 4 true god burst out completely. A 4th stage true god was much stronger than a 2nd stage true god. His divine power was like a turbulent wave, forming a terrifying pressure that pressed toward Lu Ming. A spear appeared in his hand. Meteor spear. With a low growl, the long-faced young man thrust his spear at Lu Ming like a shooting star. A terrifying divine technique, under the support of stage 4 true god divine power, the power was astonishingly strong. Lu Ming immediately activated the double combat power of the battle formula. The divine power in his body circulated at full force. 5 divine flames burned fiercely, erupting with shocking power. 3 apocalyptic strikes, break the sky. Lu Ming immediately used his strongest move. The 2 spearlights collided in the air like 2 stars colliding. Thump. A terrifying explosion sounded, and a terrifying force spread out. The others' expressions changed, and they retreated, using their divine power to block it. Bang! Bang! The scattered energy bombarded the ground and the walls. Even though the ground and walls were made of 100-million-year-old ice, they still left deep scars on them. Then, everyone saw a figure retreating. With every step he took, he left a footprint on the ground. He retreated more than a dozen steps before he could stabilize himself. The person who was retreating was the long-faced young man. CSISI. Gasps could be heard at the scene. Lu Ming had actually repelled the long-faced young man. How was this possible? The long-faced young man had the cultivation of stage 4 true god. An 8th-level ethereal god realm expert could force back a 4th-level true god realm expert. Moreover, he wasn't an ordinary 4th-level true god. What kind of monster was he? The others could no longer use the word shocked to describe their feelings. They simply thought that they were dreaming. This is impossible. The long-faced young man was also in disbelief. You have some strength. A stage 4 true god is indeed powerful. Lu Ming also thought to himself. The 4th stage true god realm was much stronger than the 2nd stage true god realm. Even Lu Ming would find it difficult to defeat him. And hi, let's attack together. Let's attack together and suppress this brat. At this moment, the long-faced young man shouted. He was calling the burly young man. In this group of people, only he and the burly teenager and Hai had the highest cultivation, reaching the 4th stage of true god realm. The others were all at the 2nd or 3rd stage of true god realm and were not Lu Ming's match. Alright, let's attack together. And Hai stepped forward. An iron rod appeared in his hand. It was pitch black, and it looked extremely heavy. Kid, your power is beyond my expectations. As long as you can defeat the 2 of us, I will recognize you as the leader. No, in the future, you will be my boss and I will follow you. And Hai said in a deep voice. His eyes were filled with a strong desire to fight. As you wish, make your move. Lu Ming said. Attack! The long-faced young man shouted and charged at Lu Ming with all his might. He used the meteor spear to its maximum. At the same time, An Hai made his move. His iron rod was like a mountain, pressing down on Lu Ming. When the two of them joined forces, their strength was unleashed to the extreme. Their power was like an avalanche. Even Lu Ming did not dare to be careless. Boom! Lu Ming triggered it continuously and finally punished the battle character formula by 3 times. 3 apocalyptic strikes, break the sky. Lu Ming cast the 3 apocalyptic strikes again. The 2 spear lights collided with the long-faced young man and An Hai. Boom! Boom! After a few collisions, the 2 figures retreated. It was An Hai and the long-faced young man. After Lu Ming's combat strength was tripled, the 2 of them were even more outmatched and were being suppressed by Lu Ming. As the 2 of them retreated, Lu Ming immediately followed up. The spear's gleam was like a mountain pillar, pressing down on the 2 of them. The 2 of them roared and tried their best to block, but they couldn't. The spear light pressed down, and the 2 of them coughed up blood. Their bodies were pushed back violently, and they hit the wall. The wall that was made of 100-million-year-old profound ice almost shattered. The 2 of them vomited blood and their faces were as pale as paper. They looked at Lu Ming in shock. Heavens, the others were also shocked beyond words. It was as if there was a lump of dog hair stuck in their throats, and they couldn't stop trembling. Thump! Lu Ming took a step forward and the hall shook. His fighting spirit was high. Wait, I'm not fighting anymore, I surrender, An Hai was the first to call out. He looked at Lu Ming with respect and deep admiration. Lu Ming, you're a pervert. I, An Hai, am a man of my word. Since you've defeated us, you're the team leader and my boss from now on. An Hai patted his chest. Lu Ming did not comment. He looked at the long-faced young man and said, what about you? Do you still want to fight? Chapter 27-24 The Challenge of the Unique Devil Academy. The long-faced young man's face turned pale. In the end, he gritted his teeth and turned to walk into a room without a word. Did I let you go? Lu Ming said coldly, causing the long-faced young man's body to stiffen and stop in his tracks. You! What are you trying to do? The long-faced young man asked with an unsightly expression. Lu Ming ignored him. He swept his gaze across the others. What about you guys? Whoever wants to fight, come at me together. Let's not waste time. Lu Ming said. The other 7 young men and women shivered and broke out in cold sweat. What a joke. The long-faced young man and An Hai, 2 4th-stage True God Realm experts, were not Lu Ming's match even when they joined forces. If they went up, would they be looking for a beating? Lu. You must be joking, senior brother Lu. With your strength, you're more than enough to be the team leader. We're sincerely convinced. Not bad, we're convinced. The others quickly nodded and bowed. In the world of cultivation, the strong were respected. Since Lu Ming was stronger than them, they had to address him as senior brother even if he was only an outer sect disciple. Alright, since that's the case, I'll say this first. Since I'm the captain, you have to listen to my orders. Otherwise, don't blame me for being impolite. Lu Ming said coldly. Of course, this is natural. The others nodded and bowed. Only the long-faced young man's expression became even gloomier. Get lost. Lu Ming waved his hands. Everyone felt as if they had been granted amnesty and they found a room to stay in one by one. Lu Ming also found a room to stay in. The next few days were very peaceful. Lu Ming was focused on cultivation. In the blink of an eye, 7 days had passed. 7 days later, the Ice Soul clan members who had received them earlier arrived again. Lu Ming and the others came to the courtyard. Everyone, the geniuses from the other sects are all here. The ninth young lord intends to let everyone meet and familiarize themselves with each other so that they can better cooperate in the future missions. The ninth young lord has prepared a banquet. Everyone, follow me. The old man from the Ice Soul clan smiled. Senior, how many sects are partic? IP-ating this time? Lu Ming asked. Other than your Kong Xian sect, there are 5 other sections. One of them is the Yimo Academy, one of the 3 overlords. The old man from the Ice Soul clan explained. Unique Devil Academy. Lu Ming, and Hai, and the rest were shocked. What kind of mission was it this time? They had invited a total of 6 sects and even an overlord force. Senior, what is the mission this time? Lu Ming asked again. The others were also curious. They couldn't understand why the Ice Soul clan was so powerful that they had to ask for help when they couldn't complete the task on their own. Most importantly, they were just a group of young people. Any advanced stage true god expert from the Ice Soul clan would be able to suppress them. The ninth young master will explain this to you later. The Ice Soul clan elder smiled and did not explain further. The group followed the old man, and not long after, they arrived at an empty courtyard. The courtyard was huge, and there was a small lake in the middle of the courtyard. The strangest thing was that the water in the lake did not freeze at such a low temperature. There were already rows of seats by the lake. The seating arrangement was also very particular. It was divided into 7 areas. The topmost area had the most seats, and it was already filled with people. These people all had long, white hair and white eyes. One could tell at a glance that they were from the Ice Soul clan. The other 5 seats were also filled. Clearly, these people were from the other 5 sections. Everyone landed on the ground. The old man walked to the Ice Soul clan seats and bowed to a young man in the middle. Ninth young master, the people from the Kong Xian sect have arrived. The young man had long white hair and was very handsome. He was the 9th young master of the Ice Soul clan, Bing Qing. Alright, you may leave. Bing Qing waved her hand. The old man from the Ice Soul clan and the others bowed and left. Lu Ming, and Hai, and the rest sized up the people from the other sections. They were all young people. The people from the other 5 sects and the Ice Soul clan were all young people. Judging from their life auras, they were all less than 10,000 years old. Huya. Suddenly, Lu Ming's eyes flickered and he looked at an area. This area was the area where the Unique Demon Academy was located. The Unique Demon Academy had the most people, a total of 18 people. Lu Ming recognized one of them. He was Huya, the genius of the Tiger clan who had fought with Lu Ming during the Qin Tian 13 clan's disciple recruitment test. While Lu Ming and the rest were sizing up the others were also sizing them up. Hehe, the Kong Xian sect actually sent a Void God Realm cultivator for this mission. What a joke. Are they looking down on the Ice Soul clan and treating the mission as a joke? At this moment, a sharp voice rang out. It came from the Unique Demon Academy, and it was a youth from the Unique Demon Academy. The others also looked curious. Lu Ming did not deliberately hide his strength. The others could tell at a glance that Lu Ming's cultivation was at 8th level Void God Realm. The people who came to complete the mission this time were all geniuses above the true God Realm. Even the Ice Soul clan was surprised that the Kong Xian sect had sent a Void God Realm expert. Don't talk nonsense. When has the Kong Xian sect ever looked down on the Ice Soul clan? And Hai looked at the young man from the Unique Devil Academy and said in a displeased manner. You still say you don't have it? Then why did they send a virtual god-level person? I think your Kong Xian sect is clearly trying to do this half-heartedly while still trying to earn a lot of benefits. The young man from the Unique Devil Academy sneered. The Kong-Xian sect was the leader of the top 10 sections. Their strength had increased rapidly in recent years, and they were already threatening the position of the three overlord forces. Therefore, the three overlord forces did not have a good relationship with the Kong-Xian sect. Now that the Yimo Academy had seized the opportunity, they naturally wanted to suppress the Kong-Xian sect. You're farting. Your Unique Demon Academy is the one who is perfunctory. And Hai shouted. What did you just say? Are you looking for abuse? The young man from the Unique Demon Academy was not afraid at all, and a powerful aura rose from his body. I'm not afraid of you. And Hai shouted, not backing down at all. The smell of gunpowder filled the air, and a great battle was about to break out. You are all guests from afar. Why don't you all sit down and have a drink first? At this moment, the ninth young master of the Ice Soul clan, Bing Qing, laughed and tried to smooth things over. He still had to give face to the ninth young master of the Ice Soul clan. The young man from the Unique Demon Academy concealed his aura and looked at Hai coldly. For the sake of young master Bing Qing, I'll spare you this time. It's still not certain who's going to let who off. Hai said unhappily. Everyone from the Kong-Xian sect, please take a seat. Bing Qing laughed again, then pointed to an empty seat. There were a total of 10 tables and chairs in this area, which was the same number as the 10 people from the Kong-Xian sect. It was obvious that they had prepared this for the Kong-Xian sect. Chapter 27-25 Go and teach them a lesson. Moreover, these seats were also very particular. They were like fans, with the middle protruding and the two sides slightly facing back. Lu Ming and the other 10 walked to their seats. Lu Ming sat down in the middle seat while the rest sat on the two sides. The people from the other sects were stunned and they saw where Lu Ming and the rest were seated. That was because the middle seat was usually reserved for the captain. For the Ice Soul clan, the ninth young master, Bing Qing, sat in the middle. The people from the other sects who were sitting in the middle were the team leaders of this mission. Lu Ming was sitting in the middle. Did that not mean that Lu Ming was the leader of the 10 people from Kong-Xian sect? A virtual god level was the team leader? Laughable, truly laughable. Your Kong-Xian sect actually let a void god realm person be the team leader. What a joke. The young man from the Unique Devil Academy who had spoken earlier burst into laughter again. His voice was filled with ridicule. The way I see it, there's really no one left in the Kong-Xian sect. They actually let a void god realm person be the leader. I can see how useless the others are. How can such a sect be worthy of being the leader of the top 10 sects? The other young man from the Unique Devil Academy also sneered. The other sects all had mocking expressions on their faces. This time, even Bing Qing and the young prodigy of the Ice Soul clan were displeased. It was fine to let a virtual god-level person follow them, but this virtual god-level person was actually the team leader. They were really looking down on the Ice Soul clan. Who did they think the Ice Soul clan was? They had invited the paragons of the Kong-Xian sect to help, but they had to give them a lot of benefits. Otherwise, how could Lu Ming and the others get 20,000 points each after completing the mission? The Ice Soul clan had given the Kong-Xian sect benefits, so the Kong-Xian sect would reward them with a large number of points. Now, letting a Nihility God stage expert be the team leader was just like what the young man from the Unique Devil Academy had said. It was simply a perfunctory task. In the Kong-Xian sect, the long-faced young man, the purple-robed young man, and the others looked rather grim. They had already expected this to happen, which was why they wanted to snatch Lu Ming's team leader position. You're all fucking bullshitting. The captain of the Kong-Xian sect is naturally the strongest person. What do you know? Lu Ming did not say anything, but Hai could not help but shout. The strongest person? An ethereal god realm expert is your strongest warrior? You're all trash, ahaha. The young men from the Unique Demon Academy all laughed with a mocking expression. In my opinion, your Kong Xian sect's plea of being the top of the 10 top sects is completely undeserved. Why don't you just give it up? To the right of Lu Ming's group, a young man from a sect sneered. This sect was one of the Qin Heaven 13 sects, the Flowing Water sect. The Flowing Water sect could not be considered very strong among the Qin Tian 13 clans. It was ranked at the bottom. However, the Flowing Water sect had a very good relationship with the Unique Demon Academy. They usually followed the Unique Demon Academy's lead. Some people even joked that the Flowing Water sect was a dog of the Unique Demon Academy. Kong Xian sect had a conflict with the Unique Demon Academy, so they naturally stood on the side of the Unique Demon Academy. You're just a dog, what are you barking for? And Hai retorted very impolitely. What did you just say? A bunch of trash, I think you'd better get lost. Don't make a fool of yourself here. When you partake aid in the mission, you'll only drag us down. A dark-faced young man from the Flowing Water sect shouted. He then looked at Lu Ming in disdain and said, "What's wrong? You're not convinced? If you're not convinced, then let's fight. Kid, I challenge you now." At the end of his sentence, the black-faced young man stood up and pointed at Lu Ming. Are you sure you want to challenge me? Lu Ming narrowed his eyes slightly. That's right, I want to challenge you. I'm not the leader of the Flowing Water sect. Now that I'm challenging you, do you dare to accept my challenge? The black-faced young man shouted. He seemed to be impetuous, but he was actually very smart. In his opinion, Lu Ming, who was only at the virtual god realm, would not be able to withstand a single blow. He was not the leader of the Flowing Water sect, but he had defeated the leader of the Kong Xian sect. This was equivalent to him slapping the face of the Kong Xian sect. Not only could he make himself famous, but he could also curry favor with the geniuses of the Yimo Academy. It was killing two birds with one stone. You don't have the right to make me attack you. And Hai, go and teach him a lesson. Make him kneel on the ground and apologize. Lu Ming picked up his GLA SS and took a sip slowly. Good, that's just what I want. And Hai's expression was ferocious as he strode toward the Flowing Water sect. Bing Qing's eyes flashed, but she didn't stop him. The geniuses of the Unique Demon Academy were also watching with interest. Kid, kneel down. And Hai's footsteps quickened. Finally, he leaped into the air like a hawk and struck out with his palm toward the black-faced Flowing Water sect youth. The vast palm force was like an avalanche as it pressed towards the black-faced youth. The black-faced young man's expression changed as he continued to punch out with both his fists. His fist technique was like flowing water. When he had thrown dozens of punches, the sky was filled with fist shadows. The fist shadows converged into a large river that rushed toward Anhai. However, Anhai's cultivation was at stage 4 True God Realm, while this black-faced young man was only at stage 2 True God Realm. The difference was too great. Anhai's palm force pressed down, and the river of fist shadows that the black-faced young man had sent out collapsed. Boom! The force of the palm was like a mountain, pressing down on the black-faced young man's body. The black-faced young man screamed in pain and knelt on the ground with a plop. Impudent! You're looking for death. The other young men from the Flowing Water sect were enraged. They roared and charged toward Anhai, including the Flowing Water sect's captain. Good, all of you, kneel down. Anhai revealed a malevolent expression. A long staff appeared in his hand and he swept it out, causing the void to explode with a terrifying boom. The sky full of stick shadows was like a mountain range, pressing down on the Flowing Water sect's heaven's favorites. The Flowing Water sect had a total of 6 youths coming here this time. But the strongest person was only at 3rd stage True God Realm. He was not an heist match at all. Bang! 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 After a series of explosions, the flowing water sect disciples were all sent flying and coughed up blood. Only the captain was in a better state, but he was also sent flying and coughed up blood. Stage 4 True God Realm. The captain of the flowing water sect shouted, revealing a shocked expression. This time, those who came here had all cultivated for less than 10,000 years. It was absolutely rare to be able to cultivate to stage 4 True God within 10,000 years. The others were also shocked. They looked at Anhai with a grave expression. However, they couldn't figure out why Anhai wasn't the team leader of the Kongxian sect with his cultivation level. Instead, the team leader was someone at the 8th level of the Void God realm. Could it be that the brat has a high status in the Kongxian sect and is the descendant of some important figure? Many people thought so. This was very possible. Otherwise, with Anhai and the rest's cultivation, why would they listen to Lu Ming and make him the team leader? How dare you criticize my Kongxian sect with your puny cultivation? Kneel down and apologize. Anhai's iron rod pressed down toward the flowing water sect's team leader. Chapter 2725 Fighting Huya again. Anhai's metal rod, under the control of his divine power, was like a steel mountain. It was extremely thick and filled with shocking power. Although the flowing water sect's captain had tried his best, the difference in cultivation was clear. He was completely outmatched and was forced to retreat. His body trembled and he kept coughing up blood. Kneel down. Anhai was extremely domineering. He pressed his iron rod down again, trying to force the flowing water sect's team leader to his knees. Enough. At this time, a cold voice came from the Unique Demon Academy. It was the team leader of the Unique Devil Academy. He was a young man with black demonic patterns on his face. As he spoke, the young man sitting next to him rushed out at an unbelievable speed. In the next moment, he appeared in front of the flowing water sect's team leader. A huge cauldron appeared in his hand. He waved it and smashed it toward Anhai's iron rod. Thump! An earth-shattering boom resounded, and the two figures were forced to take a few steps back. Anhai and the young man from the Unique Devil Academy were equally matched in this exchange. Stage 4 True God Realm. Anhai licked his lips. His eyes became even more ferocious, and he revealed a strong desire to fight. Anhai had always been a warlike person. However, Anhai did not continue to attack. He knew that since the Unique Demon Academy had made a move, it would be difficult to make the captain of the Flowing Water sect kneel. Your Kongxian sect is so imposing. You made the geniuses of other sects kneel in front of everyone. Are you trying to replace my Unique Devil Academy and become the overlord? The team leader of the Yimo Academy said coldly. The moment he spoke, he had already accused the Kongxian sect. The team leader of the Unique Devil Academy then looked at Lu Ming with a sharp gaze and said, also, as the captain, can you only hide behind others and give orders? I don't care who you are. It's one thing for you to act like a tyrant in the Kongxian sect, but it's ridiculous for you to act like a tyrant in front of the Yimo Academy. That's what you said, I didn't say anything. Lu Ming said indifferently. However, you have done it. Even if you want to beat a dog, you have to look at its master. You have to pay the price for injuring a member of the Flowing Water sect in front of me. Now, you better come out and apologize to me, to the Flowing Water sect, and to my Yimo Academy. The team leader of the Unique Devil Academy stared at Lu Ming with a bone-chilling gaze, as if he wanted to pierce through Lu Ming. Apologize? You're thinking too much, the Flowing Water sect's defeat was purely their own doing. Lu Ming said indifferently as he continued to drink his wine. He looked calm, which made the team leader of the Unique Devil Academy's eyes glint even colder. Good, good, good. The team leader of the Unique Devil Academy said "good" 3 times and said coldly, "Then, what happens next is what you asked for. Attack, I want that kid to kneel." Boom. 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 As the captain of the Unique Demon Academy finished speaking, 7 or 8 people from the Unique Demon Academy immediately stood up. Powerful auras erupted from their bodies. With a flash, they appeared in different directions. A few people stopped the long-faced young man from the Kongxian sect. The expressions of the long-faced young man and the others changed, but they did not attack in the end and just watched quietly. Get lost. And Hai, on the other hand, roared and swept his iron rod horizontally, trying to send the person in front of him flying. Behave yourself. In front of Hai, the man with the cauldron waved it around. The cauldron was like a mountain, crashing toward Hai. The two of them exchanged a few blows, but they were both equally matched. Hai was being held back. With that, all the people from Kongxian sect were held back, and only Lu Ming was still drinking in his seat. Leave this brat to me. Back in the 13 Clans A.S. assessment, this brat killed many of our Tigermen race's geniuses. Today, I'm going to make him kneel before me and repent. Huya suddenly stood up from his seat in the Unique Demon Academy and stared at Lu Ming with a ferocious look. Oh, he's from the same batch as you? The team leader of the Unique Devil Academy was also stunned. That's right. However, I suppressed my cultivation during the 13 Clans test, so I couldn't use my full strength. Now is just right. Huya said savagely. Alright, then I'll leave this kid to you. The team leader of the Unique Devil Academy said. Boom. A powerful aura burst out from Huya's body and pressed toward Lu Ming. First level True God Realm. This was Huya's realm. Back then, during the Qin Heavenly 13 Clans A.S. assessment, Huya's cultivation was already at the 9th level of the Void God Realm. It wasn't surprising that he had broken through to the True God Realm in these few years. Lu Ming, get up and fight me. I want you to know what true combat strength is. Huya strode towards Lu Ming, his mouth wide with fangs and his face fierce. His body was like a mountain, and an ordinary person would probably be terrified by his aura. However, Lu Ming did not even spare Huya a glance. He said indifferently, I've already lost. I'm not interested in fighting. Let's find someone who can fight. Although Huya controlled divine-grade divine power and had powerful combat strength, Lu Ming's cultivation was already at 8th tier Void God Realm. He had improved greatly in all aspects and cultivated the Universe Thousand Tao Mantra. He did not think much of Huya. However, to Huya's ears, these words were a great insult. How arrogant. If it wasn't for the fact that my cultivation base was suppressed, I could have crushed you to death with a single finger. Die. Huya bellowed. He took a step forward and appeared on Lu Ming's body. His huge palm grabbed at Lu Ming's head. He wanted to crush Lu Ming's head like a watermelon. As the huge hand pressed down, the energy was overwhelming. Lu Ming's seat and the food and wine on it shook violently. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. A wave of divine power spread out and enveloped the food and drinks on the table, making them motionless. Then, Lu Ming raised his hand and his fingers were like a spear, piercing forward. Whoosh! Lu Ming's fingers shot out a ray of spear light, which struck Huya's palm. Boom! The divine powers collided, and a huge boom erupted. Then, a painful roar was heard. A figure retreated, and the ground rumbled. The one who retreated was naturally Huya. Moreover, a bloody hole had appeared on his palm, and blood was flowing out. At the scene, other than the people from Kongxian sect, everyone else's eyes narrowed as they looked at Lu Ming in shock. Lu Ming sat still. He could actually pierce through Huya's palm with one move. How could he be so strong? It should be known that Lu Ming's cultivation was only at the 8th level of the virtual god realm, while Huya was already at the 1st level of the true god realm. Most importantly, Huya was not an ordinary person. He was a peerless genius who could control divine-grade divine power. Even in the unique demon academy, there were not many people like him. In the future, when he grew up, he would become the holy son of the unique demon academy and be qualified to compete for the position of the future dean of the unique demon academy. His own combat strength could not be measured by his cultivation. He could easily defeat opponents of a higher level. However, he was injured by Lu Ming, who was a realm higher than him. Even Huya himself was extremely shocked. He knew that his sacred grade divine power had been easily pierced through in the collision just now. Chapter 27:27 Lu Ming's outburst. Didn't you want me to see your battle prowess? This is your combat power? Lu Ming cast a disdainful look at Huya, his voice full of mockery. I don't believe that with my true god realm cultivation base, would lose to an ethereal god realm expert. Roar! Tear me apart! Huya's eyes were blood red as he roared. The Shun power in his body boiled and his body swelled up. He had gained a full circle of weight. Roar! A tiger's roar shook the entire scene. Huya transformed into a half-human, half-tiger existence. With a stomp of his feet, he pounced at Lu Ming like a gust of wind. This was a secret technique of the Tigermen race. When used, one's combat strength would increase by a large margin. Many special races had their own innate secret techniques. Only those of that race could use them, and they had all kinds of profound mysteries. This was something that the human race could not compare to. Lu Ming became a little more serious. He stood up, a long spear condensed in his palm, and he swept it out. Boom! A huge spear ray swept towards Huya. Tear! The tiger's teeth roared. His nails were like blades as he continuously clawed at the spear radiance. Bang! 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 In the blink of an eye, the two of them had collided dozens of times. Huya's expression changed drastically, and with fled groan, his body was thrown back. In mid-air, blood spurted out of his mouth. A disciple of the unique demon academy soared into the sky, caught Huya, and fell to the ground. Huya spat out a large mouthful of blood, his aura weak. He had already suffered heavy injuries and was unable to continue fighting. Can't even withstand a single blow. Lu Ming said indifferently, his voice filled with disdain. Pfft! Hearing Lu Ming's words, Huya spat out another mouthful of blood. He was so angry. He had always thought that the reason he had lost to Lu Ming during the Qintian 13 Clan A's assessment was because his cultivation had been suppressed. If his cultivation had not been suppressed, he could have crushed Lu Ming to death with a single finger. He did not expect that after a few decades, he would be so vulnerable in front of Lu Ming. He was easily crushed by Lu Ming. It was really hard for him to bear. Brat, you dare to injure the disciples of my unique Devil Academy? How dare you? Let me fight you. With a loud roar, a bald young man rushed out of the unique Devil Academy. The aura that the bald young man exuded was extremely shocking. He was a 4th-stage true god genius, and his cultivation was no weaker than an heis. Boom! The bald young man rose into the air and his legs were like steel whips, sweeping toward Lu Ming. This person's leg technique was extremely impressive. Before the leg reached him, the terrifying force was already pressing down on Lu Ming with an overwhelming force. Lu Ming's spear swept out and collided with the bald youth's leg, causing a violent boom. The bald youth's figure drifted backward, while the long spear condensed by divine power in Lu Ming's hand trembled non-stop and almost collapsed. There's a divine artifact on his leg. Lu Ming squinted his eyes slightly. The other party was wearing a golden boot. It was a divine weapon with shocking power. Lu Ming did not use the divine weapon just now, so the long spear condensed by divine power almost collapsed. Lu Ming had a thought and a divine spear appeared in his hands. Heaven-fixing foot, heaven-fixing strike. The bald young man took a step back and stabilized himself in the air. Then, he charged at Lu Ming, kicking out with both legs. His entire body was like a drill, blasting towards Lu Ming. Break the sky. Lu Ming launched an air-piercing strike. A dazzling spear radiance collided with the bald youth. The force spread in all directions. The bald youth was pushed back tens of thousands of meters. His body trembled and he spat out a mouthful of blood. He was injured. How is that possible? The others widened their eyes in disbelief. Lu Ming had actually injured the bald young man. The bald young man was a fourth-stage true god and was also a Heaven's Pride expert. His combat strength was far from what Wuxia could compare to. However, such combat strength was not Lu Ming's match. An 8th-level ethereal god realm expert could suppress a 4th-level true god realm heaven's favorite. What kind of freak was this? Everyone finally knew why Lu Ming was able to become the team leader of the Kongxian sect. It was because he had the ability. Previously, Anhai had said loudly that Lu Ming could become the team leader of the Kongxian sect because he was the most powerful. However, no one believed him at that time and thought that Anhai was just bragging. Now, they knew that what Anhai said was the truth. How is that possible? Wuxia could not believe his eyes. He controlled the sacred grade divine power and prided himself on being a peerless talent. To him, it was a common occurrence to fight those of a higher level. However, he realized that he was nothing compared to Lu Ming. This kid, the pupils of the team leader of the unique Devil Academy also contracted, and he revealed a shocked expression. This level of combat strength was truly shocking. Even the divine sons of the 3 overlord forces wouldn't have such terrifying combat strength in a battle of the same level. Interesting, very interesting. Bing Qing, the 9th young master of the Ice Soul clan, had a glint in her eyes. The geniuses of the unique Devil Academy are only a so-so. Lu Ming said calmly. Kid, don't be arrogant. I'll fight you. Take this. The geniuses from the unique Demon Academy were furious. Immediately, 2 young men rushed up and attacked Lu Ming. These 2 young men were also at the 4th stage true god realm. The Yimo Academy was indeed worthy of being one of the 3 overlord sects in the Qin Heaven Star region. They were indeed powerful and had 4 4th stage true god geniuses. It should be known that only Anhai and the long-faced young man were at true god stage 4 in Kongxian sect. Of course, it could not be ruled out that there were geniuses from the major sects who had cultivated for less than 10,000 years. It was just that they had not come. However, this also showed how powerful the unique Devil Academy was. The 2 4th stage true god geniuses, one on the left and one on the right, launched a fierce attack on Lu Ming. Their divine skills had been cultivated to the 3rd stage and the power was very shocking. At the same time, the bald young man from before also burst out with all his strength. His feet stepped in the void and his figure appeared above Lu Ming. He looked down from above and stomped down. The 3 experts joined forces to deal with Lu Ming and launched their strongest attack at the same time. The power of the attack changed drastically. Even an ordinary stage 5 true god or even stage 6 true god would be terrified and avoid the attack, let alone an 8th stage ethereal god. However, Lu Ming's expression was calm. At this moment, his fighting spirit soared into the sky, and an even stronger power burst out of his body. The battle formula, which tripled his combat power, was activated. 3 apocalyptic strikes, break the sky. With the enhancement of the battle character formula, which tripled his combat power, Lu Ming cast the 3 apocalyptic strikes. Whoosh! 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 In the blink of an eye, Lu Ming had stabbed 3 times. The 3 spear shadows rushed up and split into 3 directions, piercing toward the 3 young geniuses of the unique Demon Academy. Boom! 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 There was a violent explosion, and it was as if 3 stars had exploded in the sky. Lose! Lu Ming let out a long howl. In the midst of his howl, the 3 figures retreated rapidly, flying thousands of meters away, their bodies covered in blood. You're tuning in to the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.